Hello, everybody! What's going on? Long time no talk to, peoples. What's going on? How are you guys? I missed you all. Did you guys miss me? Because I definitely miss you guys. I miss streaming. Man, it's been quite a week, let me tell you. Hopefully everybody's doing good today and has been good over the past week or so. This is the first stream that I'm having right now since I took my hiatus last week. And it was definitely glad that I decided to take that hiatus because, oh boy, a lot of stuff happened. Both good and bad, so can't complain too much. Personally, I was just super happy just getting back into the swing of things. It's nice having to, taking time off to do some other projects and work on other things, but in all, I do miss streaming. Alright, I want to actually do something a little bit different here. Normally we go and start off just talk here and then go right into it, but since it's been about a week or so, I want to do something different. Let's cut the music here real quick. Even though I really like that song, it was getting good. Let's go over to my room. Which is something I don't often get to do. I really got to use this place more often. I'm thinking about doing just chatting streams and stuff like that at some point in time. But didn't know if people would actually be interested in that type of stuff, so I just stick with games. Oh. Getting some music in, sorry. I think that's pulling through? Oh dear, it's not. Hold on. There we go. Okay. I think because I had one of my other layouts, I had the desktop audio was coming through without any problems, but I guess not for this one. Scuff number one, ladies and gentlemen. Scuff number one. But what the heck's been going on with you all? Hopefully you guys have been doing some fun stuff now that the weather, depending on where you are in the world, is actually getting warmer. It's definitely warmer around here, because let me tell you, I'm melting. A little concerned, because it always seems like the summers here are really warm, and not intentionally so. I think it's because of the fact that the place I'm at, they don't know the difference of actually know how to turn off heat, but maybe it's just the walls. Maybe the walls are just thin in that particular regard. Who knows? I don't know. I am no architect, unfortunately. But yeah, so got quite a bit of stuff coming down the pipeline. Like I said before, I took the hiatus. For those of you who don't know, I actually took the hiatus last week. For the most part, it was work-related stuff that I had to go and do. With my current employment, the setup is I have to kind of take a week to do some major thing, be on the ready to go and help out people with stuff. Those computers can't whisper. Nobody else can whisper to those computers, but a select few people. It is a natural talent. But so during that time frame, I just kind of took the ability to work on some my personal stuff and some VTuber stuff. The VTuber stuff I'm definitely excited for because I got some fun stuff coming up in the pipeline. Combination of stuff that I'm going to try myself. I actually have a working schedule of sorts, which is very flexible, so I can definitely change stuff around as need be. It's nice to have that. Music's awfully loud on my end. Okay, maybe that's just me. Yeah, I had it up a little bit too loud. But yeah, so you guys will definitely see the fruits of that sometime possibly next week. At least the start of the fruits of that sometime next week. And I have some other things I gotta work on too. One of those cases of just this doesn't seem to be enough time in the day to do stuff. So, but it's okay, because I'm actually taking another day for myself. Still be streaming that day though. I will still be streaming that day, but I'm going to use that day to kind of work on some other things as well. So, excitement. A lot of stuff coming down the pipeline for everybody to see. It's good to be creating stuff again. It's been some time since the last time I actually streamed stuff. Very, very scuffed setup, but I think it was about a year ago? something like that. Not year today, like, oh, you know what, but a year and a half. Year and a half was the last time I streamed, if memory serves me correctly right. Definitely was a different time, but that's just how life just be weird like that sometimes. Also, for those of you who don't know, as far as the background is concerned, background, again, really need to start using this more often, and maybe I'll try to fit in some just chatting streams and get some people to come along. We'll just talk shop and do some stuff. But yeah, the big thing is this is actually made by Miss Tarot. I believe her username is Tarot, kind of like tarot cards, underscore X1X or XIX, so 19. If my Roman numerals is on point in that regard. But she's an absolute delight. If any of you guys have not had a chance to go ahead and stream her, you'll see her stream. I can word. But yeah, she's the one that actually made the background for this, and I absolutely love it. You probably, if you've seen some of my like funny videos, which I really need to get around to making more of those, I've been playing around with some stuff, which that's actually one of the things that'll be coming out soon. It'll be a new video for reviewing some stuff. But I actually want to get more into that because I've been having a lot of fun just playing around with just kind of being more creative and stuff. Doing the same thing with writing too. I've actually been writing out a bit of a thing, which I'm going to be sharing with you hopefully within the next few weeks. Just have some stuff to finalize here this week, and then we should be good to go. Along with the fact that, yeah, this next week is going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on next week. Starting off with Tuesday. Tuesday's going to be fun. For those of you who do not know, I will be doing a big collab with about 11 other people. It is going to be the 1-year anniversary and new model reveal for my model's mama, Milk Cheche, who is an absolute delight to talk to. She is like an amazing human being. Very sweet, very kind, sometimes lewd, but overall she's just super chill. If you guys ever get a chance to go and check her out, she is definitely good peoples. But she made my model. She's been streaming it for about a year or so. This is going to be we're going to be playing golf with friends, if memory serves me correctly. I believe that's the name of it. Gonna definitely be interesting. I'm going to lose horribly. Though, not gonna lie, if this was actual like golf, I think I would do a lot better. Especially like mini golf, because I absolutely love mini golf. I do really well with it. At least I like to think I do. But yeah, you got that. We got a couple other streams. Got a big countdown, like especially like end of June. Like end of June, end of July are gonna be huge. More so July than June, but still, you guys have no idea how excited I am for end of June, or end of July. And actually, end of June as well, because I'm going to start streaming my favorite game of all time, in preparation for what I'm hoping to be my next favorite game of all time? I don't know. Maybe top 2? Something like that? I don't know. My favorite game, for those of you who don't know, my favorite game of all time is The Warlords with You. It is literally the best game in all of creation, and I will fight you tooth and nail to say otherwise. Funny enough, it's not actually the most spectacular game and everything like that. It's just, the game just personally resonates with me with the message that it's trying to get across. So I'm going to, with that being getting a sequel after almost 12 years, the level of hype that I have is unfathomable, and it's going to even get more so as we get closer to the day. Because I can tell you right now, I'm going to lose my absolute mind once we get to the end of the day. When we get to the end of July. I'm going to lose my shit. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for that. But I'm literally but I'm going to start playing the first game all the way through. every little bit. I don't know, like, I'm trying to figure out if I actually want to do, like, a full completion of the game, like, getting all, like, the weapons and stuff like that, or spells, quote-unquote, or just at least clear out, like, the extra stuff. I might do another stream where I just go and collect all the weapons and the spells. Because there's, like, what, 350-ish, if memory serves me correctly? It's been a bit since I played the game. But, I don't know. I gotta see if, gotta figure that out. I might just do another stream after the fact, just to kind of finish that off so I can do that. Because I've never actually played the game to that much of a completion. I played the game and I've beaten all, like, the extra stuff and the side story stuff, even with the newer version, which that's the one version I'm going to be doing. Which is going to be interesting because I'll have to use the Joy-Cons to make it work. And I'm a little concerned that the Joy-Con drift is gonna wreck my day. But I'm gonna do it anyway. It'll be fun. I'm pretty excited. The nice thing is the movement and stuff like that is more just based off the motion and not the actual controls, if memory serves me correctly. It's been a while. I'll have to play around with the controls for a little bit. But yeah, we got that game coming down the pipeline. I got another game series, which is one of my other favorite games of all time, which I'm actually doing a collab with another lovely person. So I'm super excited for that. Trying to see if I can get a few more people in to do that type of stuff. But it's going to be ultimate story time. And oh my god, I'm so excited for that one too. I hope you guys like murder mysteries because we're going to be going through a whole big old murder mystery. It's going to be great. Okay. Anyway, I think we're good to start off with stuff. So let's switch over to the deck building. So that's what we're going to be doing today, guys. So I have been. Let me tell you a little story. So Strixhaven came out about a month or so ago, and about a week or so after that, against my better judgment, well, not so much, it was just a matter of, I wanted to treat myself. I said I wasn't going to go and get one of the commander decks for it, and I decided to get one of the commander decks for it, specifically the one for CrimsonQuill. CrimsonQuill Statement, which is black-white, which color-wise is black-white. But I already have a black-white deck. So, after seeing the cards that were in it, because a lot of those cards, because it ended up coming up to a pack where it gave me the idea to rebuild one of my old decks, which was a lot of fun. And I found that a lot of the cards I was going to get, the price of them, it made more sense for me just to buy the deck, because I was able to get it for a deal. It was going to cost more for me to buy the cards individually than me just buying the deck outright, so I just bought the deck. And I've been sitting on this deck for like 3 weeks waiting for this stream to actually use it. So I'm excited to finally use this thing. I've opened it, like, look at the cards, and I have an idea of what the direction of the deck is going to be, but it's gonna be good. I'm excited for this stream. Like, I have all bunch of Magic cards all around me right now, but though I have a few of them specifically for this deck, and then of course the deck box for the actual CrimsonQuill Statement EDH deck. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and build a deck from that using the parts from it, and it's gonna be great. And plus, it'll be nice to kind of give you guys some insight as far as like how I like to go and build decks, because I'll be honest, I constantly build decks. Not so much the fact that I enjoy doing it, but I do. I can just very indecisive when it comes to building decks, so I'm constantly building them, trying to get them just right, and I never seem to be satisfied. So, I have some experience with deck building in that regard. Anyway, let's go over to the screen. Listening to the exact same music that we were before, because why not? Music's good. Let me do something real quick. Okay, there we go. And let me know if the music's too loud or if I'm too loud or anything like that. Please. So. We're actually going to be using Architect for this deck building process. I was looking around at a couple of other sites to see. Mainly what I was looking for one with a decent like sandboxing or gold fishing mechanic, which I tested out for one, and it's actually not bad. So, we're going to be using this to build the deck. So, bit of a story with this deck. This deck I've built once before. It was on a whim because I wanted a control deck of sorts, not like a traditional control deck that used blue. And I came across Commander, which I got the incentive of trying to do stuff with because I saw a few like cool combos. When I played the deck a couple of times after I built it. It's had some absolute hilarious results, and there's actually been a point where this deck has won by doing nothing. The deck won by doing nothing, and it was great. So I'm super excited to kind of try to recreate that style of deck. But let's go ahead and actually get to the deck building process. So what I'm going to be calling it is going to be CrimsonQuill. Reason being, this is going to be a Mardu or red, white, black deck that I'm going to be doing for this. So CrimsonQuill. If you guys can come up with a better name than CrimsonQuill, let me know. I would appreciate it. Or you know what? Let's yes, CrimsonQuill statement. And the lore that I'm using with this is the fact that when SilverQuill came out, the Orzhov Syndicate was not having none of their shit, and they sued them for copyright reasons, so they had to change. And that's what I'm going with. We're going to keep it private for now until we're done building it. And then I'll actually make it public and post it to you guys if you guys are interested in checking it out again. But let's get started with the deck building. So, for the commander for this deck, since we are doing EDH, of course, we are going to be using good old Mathas the Fiend Seeker here. So, I believe you have to go and set him up. So, for those of you, wow, that's really bad. For those of you who are not familiar with Mathas at all, also let me know if this, hold on a second. I'm not happy with that. Give me a second. Going to just change the screen here a little bit, make it a little bit smaller, and look actually normal size. I think I was doing myself a favor by just having things set up like that, but it's not doing me any favors. It looks crappy. That's a bad thing. There we go. There we go. I like that. All right. Everything looks good, maybe? Yeah, it's fine. All right, so for those of you who are not familiar with Mathas, Mathas Fiend Seeker, of course, costs just the Mardu color, so he costs 3. He's a 3/3, a vampire, with Menace. Though the Menace portion doesn't really come out, it can be a thing. It's at the beginning of your end step, put a bounty counter on target creature an opponent controls. Which I actually didn't realize that it was an opponent, and it could be anybody. At first, when I was first building this deck. For as long as that creature has a bounty counter on it, it has. When this creature dies, each opponent draws a card and gains 2 life. So basically, you put a bounty counter on a creature, and if somebody blows it up, everybody but the creature's owner that just got blown up gets to draw a card to get some life. Which you can kind of use almost like a political deck, and this is what it is. This is essentially a political deck, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to use SilverQuill, the EDH deck, as a basis for it. Because I felt both of those really fit. And there's a couple of synergies that are just really good. The big thing is the fact that you essentially, the deck's main goal is to keep as much heat off of you as humanly possible. So I actually tried the same type of deck, political deck, but using Queen Marchesa as the commander. We're just going to add it here real quick. We're going to make it commander, add the card. Is there a way to make it non-foil here? It was a little bit obnoxious. Nah, that's fine. Add it there. But if you, I actually tried to do this with Queen Marchesa, or Marchesa. I don't know 100% how her name is actually pronounced, but Queen Marchesa. So I did the exact same deck, but I just swapped Mathas with Marchesa. She costs 4 with 1 generic and then Mardu for a 3/3 human assassin. Death Touch and Haste, and then when a Queen Marchesa enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Monarch mechanic, basically what happens is you kind of get a emblem of sorts, which basically gives you, at the end of your turn, you draw a card. But if a player deals combat damage to you, they become the Monarch, and then they get that same buff. So basically, once you introduce the Monarch into the game, it's kind of a thing that will constantly rotate around the board, with, at the very least, at the end of the turn, you'll get a card. Even if you lose the Monarch the next turn or the next go-around, you're still getting some benefit out of it. And it kind of incentivizes people to attack each other and keep the heat off of you. I will say, making Queen Marchesa as your commander, it put way too much heat. Oh, I mean, like, I remember I got attacked right out the gate the turn after, and then just, like, every time I was able to get the Monarch back, just lost it right instantly. So, like, the experience wasn't necessarily the greatest. But I ended up just keeping with Mathas, because the Mathas is just so much more low to the ground, low key. Because that's kind of the basis of the deck. You keep the heat off of you. Nobody bothers you. You kind of get your own resources. You put bounty counters around, not just on your own, on one specific target, especially if you want to give people the incentive to draw. Because you can put multiple bounty counters on the same creature, which I think is really cool. You can just put bounty counters everywhere, and then incentivize people going after other people rather than you. And a lot of the times it actually works really well. It gives you more time to kind of get your resources up, get things up, until basically have everybody kill each other. And then when you're the last one left standing, at least ideally if you're the last one left standing, you have enough advantage and enough things going on, you can control the game, and then basically be able to finish off the players once they're weak. Doesn't always work out that way, but that's the premise of the deck at the very least. But, so, with this type of deck, I'm going to be I have a bit of a formula, and I do use a bit of a formula that comes from the Command Zone, which, if you guys haven't heard of the Command Zone, definitely go and check that out. There are podcasts. Both of the hosts, Josh and Jimmy, super cool guys. A lot of fun to listen to and everything, super entertaining. But they do a lot of they just do Commander games, they do Commander-focused stuff. And they do a lot, especially when new stuff comes out. They're kind of one of my go-to places to get information from. So I always try to listen to them whenever I can. And they've actually come up with a deck building process. So which I kind of adopt and make my changes as I go, depending on what I'm building. For this deck, we're going to be keeping this as a low creature, high land count. Because I want to make sure I have enough mana as humanly possible as the game goes on to be able to make sure I have enough resources to take care of stuff and just, control the board. So, let's start with some of the new cards. Because we're going to stick with some of the creatures here. And I have an idea of some cards that I'm going to be adding in here and some cards that I'm not. But we'll go through a couple. And also, this deck is actually going to be one that I'm going to be building for myself. And then, hopefully, if I can get things arranged, I'd like to go and do Commander games with some other Vtubers. I know that's something that a few Vtuber buds of mine have been talking about doing at some point in time. And off time, and then doing stream stuff as well. But I actually want to play this deck for stream, because it's just the concept of what the deck does is just a lot of fun. So, first creature that we're actually going to be adding in, that's going to fit with the strategy here, is actually, you know what? She's already here, so we're going to add her. Queen Marchesa herself. So, Marchesa, like I said, as the commander, it's a little, at least for me, she has too much of a target. And now that I think about it, I didn't actually read the rest of the effect of the card. I got lost in the conversation. But outside of getting the Monarch and having that mechanic, Whenever you're at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent's the Monarch, you basically get a 1/1 assassin with Death Touch and Haste, which will allow you to easily take the Monarch back. Thing is, though, like I said before, there was many cases where I would play Queen Marchesa, and then she would die right afterwards. I wouldn't be able to get any tokens, and then people would just benefit off of the Monarch. So I wasn't able to hold on to it long enough. As the commander in the 99, it's definitely fine. Like, I played her, we introduced the Monarch, and people still don't really come after me. It's great. I think some people bite. But normally at that point, I'll have some things up and going to where I'll be protected so I can benefit off the Monarch. But even if it gets taken from me, that's better for me in the long run because it just, again, keeps the heat off of me. And that's what we want. So, the next card is actually going to be the face commander for the CrimsonQuill Authority deck, which is going to be Brina the Demigod. So, Brina the Demigod is a 1 in Orzhov for a 1/3 legendary creature bird warlock with flying. And whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, if that opponent has more life than another of your opponents, that attacking player draws a card, and you put 2 1/1 counters on a creature you control. So, basically what happens is, in a 4-player game, if anybody attacks somebody, and one of your opponents, outside of the one that you're attacking, so long as one of your opponents has more life than the person you're attacking, you draw a card. And then you, being Bria's controller, gets 2 1/1 counters on the creature. And it can be any creature. The key thing is, though, and that especially the case where maybe you're attacking somebody with one of the highest life total, if you're attacking somebody and both people have more life than somebody, you can actually set it up to where you can attack multiple players and get multiple cards and get multiple triggers. So I've heard cases where Brina gets a lot of counters on it, and then she comes out of nowhere and then beats people in the face. Because, I mean, imagine doing that, at the very least, doing it in one rotation. So that's 6 counters, so she's a 7/7 by the time it's your turn. And then she's a 7/9. And then you just run it into somebody. So in that particular case, she can be a win con that just kind of sits there, and most people may not remember that she's there because they're so focused on everything else. And then somebody dies out of nowhere. That's kind of the basis of the deck, is basically just getting your resources up and then just right out of nowhere, steal the win. So Brina's going in. Like I said, we're going to be doing a relatively low creature count for this. Another creature that I definitely want to go in, that's kind of keeping to that theme of keeping the heat off you. And I actually have a little story with this one. It's Orzhov Advocist, keeping to my love for the Orzhov as being my favorite 2-color combination. I swear, I have an obsession with Orzhov because I realized that going through my decks, 4 of my decks, this one included, actually has black-white in the colors in some way, shape, or form. Orzhov, Esper, 4 colors without green, which I forget what the official name of it is. I don't remember if it actually has an official name. Artifice, I heard some people call it, maybe after Brea. And then, what am I missing? And then, of course, this one. So, I love Orzhov. Orzhov is a fun color combination. I just hate how sometimes it's slow. But I like the fact that I don't know, it's just something about the combination of black, white, good and evil working together. It's just really nice. But Orzhov Advocist. For those of you who haven't played this card, it's a 2 and a white for a 1/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player may put 2 1/1 counters on a creature they control. If a player does, the creatures that player controls can't attack you or planeswalkers you control until your next turn. So basically, if somebody takes the counters to use for their own nefarious purposes, they can't use those counters against you. So, fun story. And I have to look up the card real quick because I cannot remember the name. So one of the games, I think this is the first game that I've ever played using this deck. I was, we got to the very end of the game. The guy that I was playing against was playing a Voltron deck. I forget who the commander was. I think it might have been Aurelia? I think. I could be wrong. But it was a Voltron commander. So, we got to the very end of the game, and the guy cast this one specific spell, which again, I'm just trying to find it. I don't know why I can't find it, because the card's freaking hilarious. Huh. That's so bizarre. Okay. Maybe it wasn't I'm looking through sorcery, right? I'm looking through instants here. God, what was the name of that card? I'm so sorry, this is bothering me, but okay, here it is. It is because of the instant. So, and I'll put it up on the screen here so that way you guys can see it, since we just added the other card. Chance for Glory is the card. So, guy goes and casts Chance for Glory, which it's an instant for 3. Creatures you control have indestructible, and then you take it next turn after this one. But at the beginning of your end step of that turn's end step, you lose the game. So basically, the sequence is before he activated Chance of Glory, he used Orzhov Advocus. Like he did Orzhov Advocus, took out to buff up his commander. Used the Game Over Indestructible, killed everybody else at the table. Got to his next turn, and he lost. And he died because he couldn't attack me. Hence, the running gag of this deck winning by doing absolutely nothing. Oh boy, that was funny. Like that, this to this day, this was one of my favorite wins, because it was just, the setup for that was just absolutely perfect. Oh boy. But yeah, Orzhov Advocus is one of my favorite cards because of that. And very useful. Mainly because of the fact, like I said, it acts like a mini, just keeps creatures away from you. Now, of course, you can run into the issue where people will go and attack you regardless. Which is one of the reasons why I use Mathas, again, because they won't feel incentivized to do that. They'll come after other people. They may still attack you and things like that, but you'll have other things up to keep that from happening, hopefully. Emphasis on the hopefully part. Okay, let's see. I think there was a new card that I wanted to add here. We're just gonna go by creatures, and then we'll work our way up to the non-creature spells. Here's another one. This is actually one of the new cards. So, Combat Calligrapher. So, this is a Combat Calligrapher. It's a 3 and a white for a 3/3 bird cleric with flying, and it has the ability that Inklings that can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. Which Inklings are basically black-white tokens with flying. They came from this new set. Whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, that attacking player creates a tap 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying that's attacking that opponent. So I have another card that does something similar, but basically, if they're attacking somebody else that's not you, they get an Inkling, and that comes in attacking with them. So they get about 2 extra damage depending on if they're able to do anything. Plus, they can use it for sacrificing or other purposes as well if they so choose. The thing is, they can't use it against us so long as we have Combat Calligrapher. Like I said, my thought is give benefits to other people, keep them off you. But then later on be able to control the board where you don't have to worry about that. So it won't have that much of an adverse effect on you. Alright, so this one. This card actually was something that I saw. The minute I saw this card, I knew I had to rebuild this deck. And there's also another new card. Like this one, I saw it. The synergy between this card and Mathas is absolutely dumb. So, Nils, Discipline Enforcer. 2 and a white for 2/2 human cleric, legendary creature, of course. At the beginning of your end step, for each player, put a 1/1 counter on up to one target creature that player controls. So basically, you can make all your opponent's creature. And actually, now that I think about it, I thought you only had to choose one. You could choose each. You could do it for each player. So that's awesome. Each creature with 1 or more counters. Counters. That's the key. Counters. That's the kicker for this. Each creature with 1 or more counters on it can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless its controller pays X, where X is the number of counters on that creature. So, it doesn't mean 1/1 counters. It also means bounty counters. So essentially, what you can do with Nils and Mathas on the field at the same time, you can tax your opponent. You could, one, put bounty counters on your opponent's creatures, 1/1 counters on your opponent's creatures, and then put them into a state where their big creatures will not be able to attack you without having to pay a buttload of mana for it. And you can do it one of a couple ways. If they have a big creature that can be staring down your neck, you basically double up, and essentially they'll have to pay 2 each turn to be able to attack. I imagine after a certain point, you get to after you do this 2 turns, paying 4 mana to have a creature attack you for 1 creature, as opposed to somebody else where you don't have to worry about that to cast their spells. Most likely than not, they're not going to attack you. Add in something like a Ghostly Prison, or or a Spear of, I forget what the name of the card is, Spear of Influence or something like that, where it taxes people even more. Yeah, they're not going to do anything. So you're not going to have to worry about that. Now, of course, you run into the potential problem where they make they'll make their creatures big, and then they'll come after you later. But there's enough control in the game to where I don't think that's going to be an issue, because giving people incentive for bounty counters, people will be more likely to kick out their other people's big creatures rather than come after you. So, especially when you're just sitting there just basically building a pillow for it and not doing much of anything. Nobody's going to really bother you. So, adding that to the pile. So, another card, and I'm not 100% sold. Now we're going to get into a couple of cards here that I'm not 100% sure if I want to add. And we can just talk about them and maybe even add them a little bit later on. Again, the creature count's not going to be all that big. So, having some high energy creatures or high power or high mana cost creatures isn't going to really be that big of a deal. So, let's start off with the first, and this one's actually going to be a little bit more for the ramp side of things. So, Scholarship Sponsor. Again, this is not subject to change. Once we get the deck and kind of get that built out, we'll be able to kind of take away cards, add some cards in. And also, guys, feel free to suggest any cards. If there's anything here that you might find a little bit interesting that you might want to see in the deck, or think that might be a good idea for the deck, let me know. Excuse me. I am open to suggestions. So, first card, Scholarship Sponsor. 3 and a white for a 3/3, and it's kind of getting onto that incentive of basically giving white more mana ramp. But basically, it's a 3/3 with when Scholarship Sponsor enters the battlefield, each player who controls fewer lands than the player who controls the most lands searches their library for a number of basic land cards, less than or equal to the difference, and put those cards on the battlefield, tap, and then shuffle. So, a form of ramp for everybody at the table, not just you. So if anybody happens to be falling behind, or more importantly, if you're falling behind, this will help you get back into the game. And hopefully get some good favor from a lot of people, so that way, no people won't come after you. I don't think it's a bad card to do. Like, I remember somebody making the quote about when it comes to white with this new ramp that they're getting. It's not so much of, like, some of the other colors where they're cheating ramp or cheating creatures or anything like that, but they're just making white's form of ramp is basically making things more fair. Kind of balancing the scales rather than just getting ahead of somebody, you know? Which I think is actually, aesthetically wise, it works. I think it works really well. Now, another card that we're going to do, and this is going to be a combination of Graveyard Hate, which kind of makes me sad because I love graveyard stuff, shenanigans, but it actually has some implications with this deck too. So, Author of Shadows, a 3/3 Shade Warlock for 4 and a black. And whenever he enters the battlefield, or it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards. Choose a non-land card exiled this way. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you can spend mana of any color, and those are mana of any color to cast it. So, it's a bit of a one-trick pony with this, so you can't really abuse it, which, personally, I don't think you should necessarily abuse it anyway, because what you can do is, one, you're using this more like Graveyard Hate. Granted, it's expensive Graveyard Hate, but it's still Graveyard Hate, and then you can essentially just pick whatever the best card is, and then go from there. So, I don't think it's a bad addition. This might be one of the cards that I eventually take out. Also, let's save, in case something bad happens. So, I thought I saw another card that was interesting. Here's a fun one. I'm a little bit hesitant to put this card in, but I still think this is a good way to get some good favor for somebody. Keen Duelist, which is basically a Bob for everyone. Which, if people don't know who Bob is a Dark Confidant. I believe that's the name of the card. But I'll explain in a minute. But Keen Duelist is 1 in the black for 2/2, Hebrew Wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, you and target opponent each reveal the top card of your library. You each lose life equal to the mana value of the card reveal by the other player, and then, hold on a second, you each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. Interesting. Okay, so you don't necessarily take damage from the mana cost of your own creature, for your own card that you off the top of your deck, but from the other person's. That's interesting. That adds a little bit of complexity to that. Then, I'm glad I reread that now. Yeah, I mean, if you can stack the deck, you can actually do something to where you can possibly kill somebody. But also, if you know that somebody's going to put something at the top of their deck, if you allow somebody to just draw it outright, you can actually have it set up to where they get the card earlier, and you won't take a lot of damage, so you'll kind of know what's going on. There's some flexibility with that. That's interesting. I didn't know that. But I think that would just be a fun card to put in here. For what Dark Confidant does, for anybody who doesn't know, Dark Confidant essentially does the same thing for that Keen Duelist does, but it's only for yourself, and you're the one that takes the damage. So basically, you look at the top card, you draw it during your upkeep, and then you take damage equals to the converted mana cost of it. So, this is a Bob for everyone, though. Bob for everybody. Or Bob's your uncle. Alright, next card. There's a couple cards in here I'm just kind of like, but why though? Why did they add this? And I'm basically just going through the cards that are just in the deck. At least for the creature side of things, and then I'll convert to my own. Probably should have had these sitting out here originally, not gonna lie. But details. I feel like I missed, there should be one more. Okay. So, not too much more from the new stuff, and then we'll go into my own collection of things. So, a couple of old cards. Next one's going to be for protection. Whitmore Muse, the Ghostly Prison on a Stick. For those of you that don't know, Ghostly Prison it basically costs one less than this, but basically it's a 3, for Whitmore Muse, it's a 3 and a white for a 2/3 with flying. And then creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 generic mana for each creature they control that's attacking you. Basically, it just puts a tax on people attacking you to incentivize them not to do that. Having this with Ghostly Prison on the field, basically making people pay 4 to attack you for each creature, not bad. Pretty good. It's pretty good. Next card is actually one that I've been wanting to get for myself, but never got it because of the cost, and I'm happy this card's in the deck. Deathbringer Liege. And it looks like he's a creature that looks like only a mother would love, with a face of a mother would love, or a body a mother would love, let me tell you. But let's not body shape here. Let's not body shape. It's a 3. He costs 2 and 3 black and white or Orzhov hybrid mana, so you pay either black or white or any combination of those to pay for it, with a 3/4. Other white creatures you control get +1/+1, and other black creatures you control get +1/+1. And then whenever you cast a white spell, you may tap a creature. Whenever you cast a black spell, you may destroy target creature that's if it's tapped. So, very good card in my mind for this deck. While yes, you're running a 3-color deck, so not every single spell is going to benefit off of it. There's going to be enough cards in the deck for white and black, or a kind that's going to have white and or black in the mana cost, to where I imagine that this will be perfect for it. Plus, what you can essentially do is, if somebody is attacking and a creature becomes a problem, you just cast something with black in it, with a black mana, black spell, and then just destroy it outright, and especially if it has a bounty counter, everybody benefits. Because that was one thing that I had a problem with in the last game, in my last version of this deck. The deck didn't have enough single target removal to get rid of the cards with bounty counters on it, in case you wanted to draw or get life. So, this having being a means to be able to do that myself if I so choose, I think it's a good benefit. Plus, it can be a thing that incentivizes you. It's like, hey, if you attack me, I'm going to destroy that creature that attacks, so you better attack somebody else. So, again, incentivize. That's all the name of the game. We're keeping people off of us. The funny thing is, none of the creatures are really going to be like win conditions per se. Those are going to be in the spells. And boy, we're going to have some fun win conditions in this deck. But you guys will see that later. Next one. Actually, no, I lied. So this one is a bit of a win condition of sorts, or at least it can be. Selfless Squire. This one, relatively older card. It's not a super old card. I think it's been released like in the past 5 years or so. But it's a 3 and a white for a 1/1 human soldier with flash. When Selfless Squire enters the battlefield, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn. So basically a fog. Whatever damage that would be dealt to you is prevented, put that many 1/1 counters on Selfless Squire. So if somebody decides to try to alpha strike you to death, or then attempts to they cast a big spell of some sort that deals a lot of damage, this especially becomes a thing at the very end of the game. What you then can do is pop this guy as a form of protection, and then have a massive creature during your opponent's turn by you, and then when you untap, you can wreck their face in. So, a good form of protection as a mean, and also a means of a win condition as well. There's another card that does something similar, but we'll get to that. Alright, so that takes care of the new cards. The new cards, at least for the creature side of things. And I think we're at about, what, 11 creatures? Yeah, about 11 creatures. So we'll add about 7 or 9 more creatures into the deck. Again, the high mana cost, well, I typically am never a fan of having stuff with high mana cost because I'm always of the mind that when you're doing stuff, or at least you're doing like mana cost for stuff, the lower the mana cost of things, the better. Because that will be just more mana to use on other things. Plus, especially if your commander is a big part of the deck, you then don't want to have to get to the case where after like it dies 2 times and then it becomes super hard for you to keep up with making it to be able to play it anymore. Oh, I'm sorry, I had the thing right in front of my face. I knew I had this deck box here for a reason. So, let's pull out some of my... here's one. She's definitely going into the deck. And I've actually seen a deck built around this card. You can do some really funny stuff with it. But for the purpose of this one, I think it's definitely worth it here. So, Zenchi, Sleeper Agent. 1 black and a red for a 5/5 legendary creature minion. As Zenchi enters, like Sleeper Agent enters the battlefield, an opponent of your choice gains control of it. Zenchi attacks each combat if able, and can't attack its owner or planeswalker its owner's control. So, basically, this is going to 5/5 that's going to be forced to attack everybody else but you. Which would be great to get some damage in. Also, fun fact, if memory serves me correctly, if Zenchi is your commander, any damage that they deal is commander damage. So you can have somebody else kill everybody for you. It's great. But the best part about it, kind of playing into the keep everybody off of you theme, you pay 3 generic, and then Zenchi's controller loses 2 life, and you draw a card. So you can have everybody, if somebody's a problem child, you can have everybody pump stuff to get benefit, and then put the opponent in a really bad spot, but then also can do 5 damage to things. So it's good stuff. Again, incentivizes nobody coming after you. Alright, what's the next creature? I'm finally glad to have a creature that actually is like low in cost. Alright, we got a couple of them here. Also, I'm gonna see if there's any other music that I can go and get, because I've used this one, but I'd like to have something that's gonna be a little bit more, I don't know, maybe something more fantasy related? Something like that? I don't know, I'm still a bit on the fence as far as that's concerned. Like, I'm a fan of jazz music like this, so maybe we'll keep this one, or maybe we'll do something else. Who knows? Anyway. So we got some more creatures, and some low-costing ones at that. So let's get a boring creature out the way, because this deck is actually going to have quite a bit of enchantments. So why not get something that's going to bring back your enchantments? Which, Monk Idealist, for when it enters the battlefield, basically you return target enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. And again, there's some win conditions that are enchantments, so definitely beneficial to get that out of the way. A newer card that came out from, I believe, the last Commander set, or was it Commander Legends, I believe, this one? Regardless, Gehen Arcanum Weaver. So Mardu, for 2/3, with Mardu and then tap it, you can sacrifice 1 enchantment and return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, as a means to, if you need to get back an important enchantment, this is definitely a way to do it. So you can trade in one of the enchantments that you're just not going to be using anymore, or you don't really need, and then just trade it out for something stupid. Which, there are a few stupid ones in this deck. One specifically, I'm absolutely happy to be replaying again, because I love that card. Now, for something that has a little bit more synergy with Mathas again. This one's one of my favorite creatures in the deck. So, good old Kolrath Knight, which is 3 and Rakdos or red and a black Hydra mana, so you can use red and a black for either of those cards, for either of his casting costs, for a 3/3 Elemental Knight with flying and Wither. So the damage it deals to a creature is in the form of 1/1 counters rather than actual damage. Creatures your opponent controls with counters on them can't attack or block. So, that includes, again, keyword is counters. So it can be 1/1 counters from like Nils, or bounty counters, most likely than not, from Mathas. So it keeps stupid big creatures off of your face, or away from the table, all depending. And then if they have a crazy ability, you can just kill it and then get benefit off of it, especially with the bounty counter. So, the counter synergy with this deck is real. This card is so dumb with this deck. I love it. Next up. I'm not 100% sure I would be keeping this card in the deck, but we'll see. But this is going to be one of my favorite cards, Twilight Prophet. One of my favorite cards that I haven't never been able to use in the deck. Basically, a 2/4 vampire cleric with 2 and a 2 black with fly, and it has Ascend, which you get an emblem that says with City's Blessing that activates certain abilities when you have 10 or more permanents on the field for the rest of the game. It doesn't go away. For Twilight Prophet's case, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the current card's converted mana cost. So, it's basically a reverse bomb in the good way. Basically, you draw the cards, and during your upkeep, your opponents take the damage, and you get some life out of it, too. So, easily one of my favorite cards in this deck, and definitely worth it in a deck where you're trying to be political. Alright, so this one, another card on my list that I've been dying to put into a deck. Plus, this card probably has one of my favorite characters and favorite depictions of her. And the artwork scorch. I love the artwork on this one, which is Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts, a commander that I have actually been trying to either put into a commander deck at some point in time, or try to build a deck around her. Let me tell you, building a deck around her did not work out as well as I hoped. So she costs 7 mana, not necessarily the greatest, but her abilities I think are definitely worth it for this deck. So, she costs 5 in Orzhov for a 4/4 human advisor with both vigilance and protection from creatures. And then whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, you destroy that creature and then you create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with fly. So, it's a rattlesnake. Basically, you kind of deter people from coming after you, because if they come after you, they lose their creature. Now, this one, after thinking about it, I had thought about the fact that it's like, well, yeah, you just stop my creature from you. Yeah, I may not attack you right now, but I'll just get enough resources to be able to take you out in one shot to where the destruction portion will not matter. But again, if you have other cards in the deck that kind of deal with this type of thing, that won't ever become a problem. So I still want to add the card into the deck regardless. Now, this is a card was something that I was recommended on EDH Rec. I think we're at 817 cards, so we're right on the money from hitting the big 18. This card is one that I have yet to use. I love its previous iteration quite a bit. This previous iteration is actually in my Orzhov deck. Right now, Mr. God of Passions here. We're talking about Athreos 2.0, which is Athreos Shroud Veil, who I realize is way more busted than I thought it was, at least for this deck. So, 4 in Orzhov for a 4/7 legendary enchantment god. The enchantment portion is the big one there. It has indestructible. And as long as your devotion to white and black are less than 7, basically, you have a combination of black and white mana symbols that equals to 7 or less, or that equal to 6 or less, it isn't a creature. But the minute you hit that 7 threshold, boom, becomes a creature. At the beginning of your end step, put a coin counter on another target creature. That was the part that I didn't realize because I thought it was just your creatures. This one actually allows you to put a coin counter on any creature, which kind of plays into nils and then, or a couple of other cards that deals with counters. Whenever a creature with a coin counter on it dies or is put into exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control. So, big way to protect your creatures from removal because you know they'll always come back. And then, it also gives you incentive to kind of make deals with people too. Because what if somebody has a creature that they're trying to keep around that other people may or may not like, and you want to go and help them out? You can make a deal. Say, hey, I can go ahead and save your creature by giving it a coin counter, but then you'll have to do something for me. You can do that. It gives them a coin counter. The creature dies and comes back. If it gets wiped, everybody's happy. I just saw a kind of a scummy thing you could do. You can essentially say, yeah, I'll go ahead and give you this counter so that way your guys can survive, but you gotta do something for me. And then immediately afterwards, board wipe. So the counter gets used up before the next turn. I mean, that's not, I think people would be super salty about that, but there are ways around that too. But yeah, I didn't realize you could give that coin counter to other people. Like, yeah, which makes the deck a lot more versatile. You can do a lot more with it, politically. Plus, let's be honest, plus it's a good way to protect your creatures, because that's one thing with this deck. The enchantments and stuff are fine, and some of the creatures you have are fine too, but they do well in long games. So, if they end up getting wiped, this will be a good way to protect them and have them keep coming back. Plus, enchantment energy. So, any of the enchantment spell stuff that I have in this deck benefits from this. So, we're going to add you here. Save. Alright, so we have 18 creatures, all which do a vary amount of stuff. Alright. Yeah, we're only at 19 cards, so we still got a bit of a ways to go for this deck. Which, quite honestly, I thought I had more time. I thought that we'd be going through this deck tech way quicker than I expected it to, but that's not a bad thing. I enjoy talking to you guys, and hopefully I hope you guys are doing well. Again, as always, you are more than welcome to lurk here and just listen to the sound of my voice. Or if you want to say hi, talk, that's fine too. Whatever you guys prefer. Never like it to where anybody feels like they have to speak or have to engage in anybody, even though if they don't feel up to it. So, we're going back to the new stuff. Though, let's do this next part. This next part's pretty quick. So we're going to do some ramp. So we'll do... I'm probably going to put like 10 here. So we're going to do Soul Ring. This one probably going to be the most boring part of it. Arcade Signet. Which this card is absolutely dumb. Especially in a multicolor deck. I can simply spell Talisman. Nope. No, that's not what I wanted. Stop that. Talisman of Dominance. No. Conviction. Yep. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Whoopsie doodle. Try again. Conviction. So we'll do that. We're doing all the talismans. Nope. Hierarchy. Yep, black, white. And then Resilience. Nope. Unity. Nope. Resilience. Oh, I just looked at that one. What am I doing? Indulgence. I think this might be it. Yeah, there we go. Indulgence. Then we got the Signets. So, Boros Signet. Orzhov Signet. And then Rakdos Signet. That takes about eight of the mana spells I want to add here. So for me, let's do Chromatic. Huh. Oh right, that's for the new artwork that they came out with that. Huh, that's a cute chromatic lantern. I like that. Is that it looks like a fire hydrant? Why does it look like a fire hydrant with a giant baby, one of those baby shakers, surrounding it? Oh boy. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. The chromatic lantern. Is there anything else that I can add here? I don't know. Like, I feel like there just should be something a little bit more. Huh. Nah, that's not gonna work. Well, time to get the war cries going. Time to go to war. So we have chromatic lantern. What's another good mana rock that we could just put into place and let them evolve in? Oh, excuse me. Let them evolve and do other things. Huh. Let me pull up something over here real quick. Anytime now. All right, here we go. Gosh, I'm so silly. Completely forgot this command. Completely got this card exists. So, Thematic Compass. Thematic Compass. This card has definitely done some work for me. It's basically a two generic artifact with pay 3 and tap it. Search your library for a basic land, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Then at the beginning of your end step, if you control 7 or more lands, transform the compass. Which on the dual side becomes Spires of Korza, which you pay 1 color's mana, and then untap target attacking creature. And opponents will. I can talk. Untap target attacking creature an opponent controls and return it from the combat. Basically, this is a base of if. Which in the case, I don't expect people try to steal your commander or anything like that, but it will definitely help regarding certain bosses. Well, bosses or bossers or however you want to do it. That will allow for some flexibility of this card and give you the more protection of have people say, let me load! Let me load! Let me load! Yep, the Mana Compass. So all of them are a form of ramp in some way, shape, or form. While you can't get rid of it entirely, you can at least do stuff that helps. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm so tired. It's weird. Let me try something here then. Yeah, we got quite a bit of cards here. So, actually, you know what? Let me do this. Let me do this. We go at it for about an hour and a half or so. I actually need to go and stretch real quick. And then we'll go ahead and continue on from there. That's right with you guys. We'll have some fun, and then we'll go back to things. So, give me about 5 minutes, maybe 10, all depending. I'm going to take a brief breather, and then we'll be back in the swing of things to do the rest of the spells. Okay? Okay. Okay. Actually, I just realized that I was still muted. I got distracted for a minute there. Sorry. I'll be back in just a bit. Gonna go to the other screen and then we'll go from there. Sorry! Alright. Alright, I have returned. Sorry about that. Need to stretch my legs a little bit. Also, hold on, I need to go and do something real quick. Got one more thing. Okay, sorry about that. I'm sitting here like wondering why. I'm like, why do I feel just so drained all of a sudden? This is weird. What's going on? Like, am I coming down with a cold or something like that? And then I realized it's just like, it's just really warm in my room. Like, dare I ask what the temperature is outside right now? Okay, it's like 73. It's like 73 here. But it's really warm. It's like really warm, even with everything that's going on. That's just... so weird. Anyway. I love this song. Man, Ben Briggs does some good work. Plus, I also got some tea. Does it help keep me going? Alright. Let's get back to the deck building, shall we? Back to the deck building. Put on some music again. See, the funny thing is I actually have another track that I want to kind of use, but the problem I have with it is it has a lot of, what do you call it? This one, the one I'm using right now, doesn't have any ads. The other one does. And it calls off on like every single song, so that would just bother me having to go back and forth with that. So, slow jazz, it is. Slow jazz it is. Alright, so, where we left off. We just put some mana, got some little bit ramp with Thematic Compass. And normally, as I was talking with you before, Command Zone came with a little template for how you want to do creatures and things. Like, how much of each you should have. For this, at least this one specifically, 10 ramps of mana is fine. Because so long as you can get Mathas out and start putting bounty counters on things, you'll be able to make up the difference when people start destroying other people's stuff and you get the benefit off of it. So you'll eventually draw into lands and things. Unless it's a deck that just keeps creatures off that their gameplay is just keep creatures off the field. So, because you don't run into that many, that can be a bit of a problem. Because reasons. Anywho, so that's about 10 things of ramp, kind of. Well, maybe we could do one more. What else could I add here though? I never like having mana ramp that's like the same cost as your commander, because you always want to have it a little bit left. That's fine. We'll work with the 9. We'll work with this. We'll work with this. There are a few other artifacts that I do want to add into the deck here. Also, this is a little bit too loud in my ear. All of which are kind of in the vein of working to... See, now the air is on. It's way better in here. I have the fan on next to me. And then I have the one that's going throughout the room. So hopefully the room actually gets somewhat cool. That'd be nice. Be nice. So, yes. So we're going to be adding 2 cards. Essentially, they do the same thing, but... Good old crawl space, which basically that that 2 creatures can attack you. Or attack each combat. So just a little way to kind of slow down the game and keep people... Eventually the thing's going to get blown up, and then you can kind of go from there, but still. And then, one of my personal favorites, Norn's Annex from good old New Phyrexia. I never actually got to play with this card myself back when they originally came out, because I actually started in Innistrad, the original Innistrad. I started playing Magic in the original Innistrad, though I was exposed to Magic for the first time in the original Ravnica block. Back when Tooth and Nail and Darksteel Colossus rear its ugly head. That's where I got my love for artifacts from, because I love artifact decks. And like seeing the stupid stuff you can do with them to make these giant creatures, or this is giant walking golems that just can wreck face, it's really cool to me. I don't know. Because I like the mechanical aspect of it too. But Norse Annex. It costs just about the same as Crawl Space, but you can pay 4 life or 2 white to pay for 5 if you so choose. I don't really like just to pay the life personally, because you're gonna, like, if they kill 2 creatures, if somebody kills 2 creatures with value counters on them, that just pays for this. So you can afford to take some damage here and there, because it's not really going to affect you all that much. But yeah, so creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless they pay Phyrexian white for each of those creatures. Which in the non-white deck, that just makes you cry, because that's, okay, 2 life for each creature. If you have 5 creatures, have fun paying 10 to attack me. So yeah, nobody's really coming after you with that. Now, another card that I think works with the deck and some of the other cards in the deck that you can do some really fun shenanigans with it, or just some instant speed stuff with. And we'll see how many instant sorcery we have at the very end to kind of confirm this, but Sunforger. So, equipment for 3 generic, and it gives target creature, it gives the equipped creature +4. But we don't use it for the we don't really use it for the attacking, at least in this case. We're going to be using it for its Boros ability for Red and Blight, which you unattach Sunforger, you search your library or a red and white instance with converted mana cost 4 or less, and cast it without paying its mana cost. So it'll get you some of the stuff that we'll see in just a bit, because I think that's good, all the artifacts that we're going to have, but this will be like good utility for anything that you might need. Now, paying 5 to kind of equip and then eventually do the 2 mana thing all over again might be a little bit steep, but the utility that comes with it is well worth it in my mind. Plus, Mathas, even though you don't really many creatures, 9 times out of 10, unless people just start doing board wipe shenanigans, Mathas is nobody's gonna bother Mathas. Nobody wants to bother Mathas, because most likely they're going to get benefit off of it. Especially if they start seeing that they're going to get more benefit from it, Mathas is not going to go anywhere. So. Alright. So. Instants and sorceries. And then some of the win cons for this deck. So we do have a lot of the instants and sorceries that are going to be in this deck are very utility based. Some are going to be tutors, others not so much. So it just really depends on the cards. So yeah, we're going to get a combination of enchantments and just basically the big core of the deck, which is going to be like the control aspect of things. Plus, I get to share with you some of my absolute favorite cards in this game. Because this deck does some really funny stuff. Yeah, here we go. Alright. And I think there's a couple more that's here. Hey, D-Bats! Thanks for the follow, I appreciate it, my dude. If you're there, hopefully you were doing away. Hey, there you are! How's everything going, my dude? What is happening? Came in just in time. We're building decks. Yeah, I know, right? I still gotta go and get stuff to be able to properly play it. I still gotta get there's a stand that I want to go and get for myself that allow me to hold one of my webcams up at a good decent angle. And then I also want to get another thing for my mic too. So like, there's a couple of things I want to get beforehand, but once that happens, we're definitely playing. Like, that definitely needs to happen. I want to have a game. Hilariously enough, the deck that I'm actually building right now is going to be for one of those games, I hope. Sorry, I have tea. And no worries, dude. Hopefully the days treat you well. But to kind of catch you up, we've been working on this one deck here, which is going to be Mathas Fiend Seeker. Which is actually a version of one of my old decks, or this is going to be a newer version of one of my old decks, which basically, you win by doing nothing, because everybody does the work for you. Yeah! It is becoming more like Planar Chaos, too. That is legit. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but yeah, they're referencing a lot. They're referencing a lot from Planar Chaos. Which, not wrong, like, I know there's a lot of people in the community that are just enjoy, like, the old sets. I don't know much about the old set or the old Magic lore, up to a certain point, but that's still legit. Dude, I'm still, like, freaking out over the green-black commander, which basically gives all your, Planeswalker cards an additional loyalty. Or you have to pay an additional loyalty to be able to use the cost for them. So basically, it evens out like the bias abilities and gives you more pluses. It's so dumb. Oh god, yeah, like the 5-color commander that gives you Black Lotuses for free. So, see, I was just saying, I actually started during the original Innistrad block. And then kind of got into it from there and learned about the old story, some of the old story from there. I think my knowledge goes up to, like, Lorwyn? Maybe Kamigawa? I think Lorwyn and up I'm fine with, but anything past that point, I'm a little shaky. Bar like a few things. Yeah, it's so dumb. I'm so excited. But the thing is, the fact that they're using the enemy colors makes me excited to see what the black-white commander is going to be, that they're going to release. The one with the unseemly, godly long name that has no right to be there. The one that the name is so the name is so long it doesn't have a converted mana cost. Oh my god, that card is dumb. I mean, there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through, unfortunately, though I feel like that commander will get better after the once more food stuff is coming out, which it seems like it's every set they're doing like a little bit of more food stuff. Eventually they're gonna get it, but yeah, it's basically saying that there's so much of a bad cook that the creature does damage to themselves, and they can possibly kill each other. It's so good. Flavor wise, if nothing else, flavor wise is amazing. Oh god. The coin flipping one looks really good. Like, I was almost tempted to go and take my coin flipping in the same colors. In the same colors. I was thinking about taking my Carrick and Shakashima partner deck, which is a Spellslinger deck, and replacing it with this guy. But I like the other deck better, personally. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I saw there was quite a bit of Evoke cards going around, which as somebody who's a huge fan of elementals in this game, and the fact that Invoke is almost like the old mechanic from the old Final Fantasy game, where basically the Invokers, you do a summon, and then they go away, rather than but you're paying more to have them stick around. I love that mechanic. I'm almost tempted to build a 5-color Horde of Notions deck, or Elemental deck of some sort, so I can play some of those Invoke cards. God, yeah, it makes me excited. Partner decks can be me, depending on how you build them. Mine, it's random, because you have Karuk, which is basically that commander that allows you to flip coins, and you can either double your spell or it bounces the spell back to your hand. And then you have Sakashima will just copy Karuk and have you do it multiple times, so you can get like 3 spells for the price of 1, or none at all, depending on how your luck is. Like that type of deck is what I kind of like. That's super degenerate. Yeah, the green Yawgmoth's Will is dumb. Like I want a reprint for the original Yawgmoth's Will, personally, because I have a deck that could really use it. But green one's not bad. If I ever decide to convert that deck to put green in it, then there you go. And the thing is, it's better. It's better than a Yawgmoth's Will because you get to play lands too. Yeah. A lot of them are pretty bad like that. Like, if you're going to do a partner deck, and kind of one of the reasons why I thought Commander Legends was a huge success, that, yeah, I know a lot of people were worried about the partner commanders being super busted, but I think Wizards learned their lesson. So, partner decks can be fun if you know how to build around it. Plus, it gives more options for stuff. That's why granted, I actually had a partner deck for a while. That was my Reanimator deck, which is now Esper colors. But yeah, it got real degenerate, so I kind of stopped. Yeah, it did. Like I said, it does get pretty brutal. Let me see. What? Let me see if I'm missing any cards here. Hold on a second. So yeah, basically, like I said, I'm essentially building Mathas, the ultimate win without doing anything deck, because everybody will do the work for you. We're just getting to the spells and the enchantments. So a couple of the cards, we're just gonna do some basic ones out the way here. So got the Sunforger here. So some removal with like Swords of Plowshare. Actually, you know what? No. That's a horrible idea. Now that I think about it. Well, maybe not. Because I think there's going to be some cases with Mathas, because you want things that actually just die, rather than just getting exiled. So I don't think, well, having a few cards that just exiles a thing rather than just outright killing it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. So yeah, Swords of Plowshare. I think doing like Swords of Plowshare and then Path to Exile, just as good utility cards, aren't a bad thing. Just in the off chance you have to get rid of something if it's going for you. Okay, that's good. That's good that you have a mix. The comic shop that I go to, or used to go to, before lockdown and stuff like that, they were big. There was a bit of a mix. You had a lot of people that were playing casual. You had some people that were in the middle. You had people that were playing competitive. It was a good mix. It was definitely a good mix. But the thing is, you could typically, and considering how many people came to Magic on Fridays, or was it Mondays? I don't remember now. For EDH, you would always be able to find a game, and always had a deck that you could cater to your power level, which is always nice. Because I have a couple of guys that I definitely want to go and hang out with again, because it's been so long since I've seen them. Waiting for things to kind of calm down a little bit more before officially going out, but we'll see how the next month or two goes. But yeah, I'm excited to go back and start playing again. Yeah, that's fair. The funny thing is, though, I actually had a deck that ran into that same issue. My Teza Orazov Scion deck is probably one of my oldest. And I really didn't change any of the cards out of it, bar like one or two here and there, so a lot of the cards have older ones. And yet, it still does work. So, yeah, you can go ahead and play certain commanders and stuff that are old, but the old ones are still pretty powerful. Some of them, I think they got power crept a little bit more, like a big one. A big one is Kalia. I know Kalia is normally a commander that was like kill on sight whenever you see her. But nowadays, I don't think there's way worse things than Kalia out there. I think people still have that stigma that Kalia is going to come in and wreck their day, but no. Kalia's not going to do much of anything like that. It's still a viable card. Oh. Yeah. Karthus is good. And see? Yeah, exactly. Kalia's reputation kind of precedes her a little bit, so normally people just gun for her anytime you play. The big thing is though, like I said, the old commanders can work just fine, because one thing I love about Commander, and it's the case of anything, Commander, I think, not only is just a casual format, but it's also an expressive format. So I kind of use the idea of like how you write a book when you're telling stories, because let's be real, like the thing with when you're telling a story is that pretty much every story has been told already. So what makes a story unique is basically what makes a story unique is making it to where you focus on certain things that you enjoy or you find important or interesting. And that's where you can kind of branch off from there. Commander is very much the same, where the commanders that you use, the cards that you put inside the deck, all of that is just a form of expression. So all of that can make the game just as much fun. And you can get a really strong commander like freaking Corvald. Corvald's busted. And then just play it as like a Dragon Tribal deck if you so choose. And that could be a fun way to basically kind of lower down the power level of the deck and still have a lot of fun and have a lot of interesting games. I would respect somebody playing a deck like that than somebody who's playing like something that's like super degenerate or anything like that. Not to say that a degenerate deck isn't bad. I think there's a case to be made for decks like that, because you're going to get some tables where people are just going to be playing competitive, and you want to have something that kind of keeps up the par and stuff. So kind of give yourself a bit of an edge. Doesn't hurt in that regard. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I've seen Ghidorah in action. That deck is dumb. Like, the fact that you can, so long as you're playing big creatures, those things just go and just wreck. Like, that's, you have a 10/10 that you always have access to, and it's super easy to subplay for 2 mana. Like, come on. No, exactly. Again, if you want to go and play that type of deck, that's totally fine. You can play a Food Chain Squee deck. It's just a matter of having the conversation that, hey, what type of decks are we playing here? Are we playing competitive, or are we playing more of or are we having more of a social game? And rather than more of a social game, then maybe doing something that's going to be like wreck everybody's shit in like turn 2 isn't necessarily going to be the best thing in the world. Yeah, exactly. Like, so a little story. I actually have, and I'm just adding a couple of cards if we're talking. Mortify is going to be a good card for taking out enchantments and creatures to get more bounty counters. But, oh, wait a minute! Yeah, okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Ghidorah, the one, isn't it the one that basically whenever you attack and you deal damage, you look at that many cards at the top of your deck, and then you put all dinosaurs from that in play? I think, yeah, I remember Ghidorah. Is that what I'm thinking of? Oh. I don't remember. Hold on a second. I don't remember that deck. Ghidorah. I don't. What was the? Oh, okay. I get what you're talking about. The Godzilla cards that they did in Ikora. Right. I forgot about that. What was that base after? Oh, the Apex of Wishes. Oh, okay. Okay, got you. Yes. I remember now. I'm so sorry. I got confused. I don't know why Ghidorah didn't like actually come to mind. I was like, oh yeah, that monster from Godzilla. I thought that was the actual name. Oh man, I am so sorry. My brain just turned to mush there. That's awesome though. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember that the look of that card was amazing. For that. Yeah, that is a fun deck. Like, I can see that being a fun deck. You mutate it, you exile cards, you get a permanent, you play it for free. Like, stuff like that's fun. Like, you can do some really cool stuff with that. I'll be honest though, I wasn't a huge fan of like the stuff from Ikora, especially the mutate mechanic. Because my thought is always, if you're gonna have a commander, you basically want to have the commander basically, while it's a centerpiece of your deck, you never want to go and like I never like having a commander make a deck that's like solely based around the commander. I like it to be work without the commander in play, but that the commander comes in and enhances the deck. Because my thought is always like, okay, you mutate a creature from the command zone, and then they remove the creature that's underneath of there, and then you're kind of like, well, the ability that's there is gone. I'm sad now. Plus, a lot of the mutate cards are they have a high mana cost. And I always like I try to play cards with like low mana costs for mine. Okay, so it plays a few permanents so that way you hit like giant things. That's good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. If that's the way to do it, that's a perfect way to do it. Let's go ahead and add something like a generous gift here. Because generous gift I think would be good. And people won't be upset for you taking out the creature if you do that, because they're going to get a cute little elephant. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. Like, I'd love to see them do more, because I like the concept of like these big monsters that are kind of like a combination of stuff. Like, the creature type, the ones that had the creature types. Like, the junk one. The one that was like Abzan, the green, black, white one. The Reanimator one. I almost changed my Reanimator deck to that one if it wasn't for the Mutate Direct deck. Like, the Mutate mechanic just kind of gets me a little bit. Oh, okay, you have a Kozilek too. I probably should get one of those for a deck. At least like one Eldrazi to put into a deck. For some reason. Yeah, Kaiju Plane, please. There's so many good references in that deck too. Not gonna lie. That was a... Like, I can appreciate the aesthetic for that deck, but like I said, the Mutate mechanic just didn't do it for me, unfortunately. Let's add some other removal here too that are just more destruction based. So Vanderblast to get rid of some problems of permanents. Or creatures if they have to be artifacts, and then you can say like, hey, by the way, everybody draws 2 except you. Is there anything from the new set that I can add in here? Yeah, like I said before, I always like to err on the side of caution when it comes to that, because, again, I'm of the mind that, like, I don't want to have to pass my commander, or be put into a position where my commander ends up costing too much for me to play, and then I'm just kind of, like, cut out of a deck because of it. Again, that's just me. That's just my preferred play style. Oh, really? That's interesting. Red Elemental Blast? Yeah, that's fair. Gotta stop those crazy counter rogue decks, I guess. Just picking out a couple of cards here. Oh, I might put that into place of another card. So that goes to prison. Again, that's what makes Commander fun, because you might have a completely different meta. But you might have a completely different meta, and that changes what decks you'll play. And that's totally fine, and that's totally valid. I think that's a really cool concept. I mean, okay, so here's the thing with Cyclonic Rift. Yes, I'm one of the people that actually enjoy Cyclonic Rift, as bad as that probably sounds. I like the card. The card's actually really cool, especially like the foil, or like the alternate art version of it, like this giant massive tornado, or this giant like hurricane spell. Like I love that. Like that's really cool, just from aesthetic wise. While yes, that card can be extremely degenerate, I guess it really just depends. It really just depends. Sure, you can use it as a way to kind of close out the game. Like, I definitely feel as though it's on the edge to being banned or not, and I can understand why people would want it banned. But, yeah, Iona calling... Unfortunately, Iona is no longer legal anymore, so we can't do that. But yeah, like, it's fine. Like I said, there's definitely a case to be made on both sides, whether or not Cyclonic Rift should be a thing. But again, it just depends on your personal preference and stuff. Like I said, I like Cyclonic Rift. I can definitely see where it can be degenerate, where it kind of, like, you have somebody that has a game plan and then one card kind of goes and sets it off. But then again, at the same time, I imagine there's other cards that can have exactly the same effect. Like a board wipe, for example. Yeah, sure, it's not instant speed, but a board wipe can have the exact same effect and kind of put the game at a lockdown. Yeah, blue-green is, I mean, realistically, what? Blue, green, black, they said, are the 3 best colors just in the game. So if you have a deck that has all 3 or run all 3 by themselves, the deck's going to be naturally strong. Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, so your experience with Cyclonic Rift is a bit different than mine. So, yeah, I personally have never, in my experience, never had a problem with Cyclonic Rift, but that's not to say that somebody else might. So, like I said, I'm like, personally, I'm either way. Oh, that's totally, yeah. Commander is definitely more of a casual format, but it will just be a matter of, and again, Cyclonic Rift is definitely on the borderline. I can see where some people would consider it as being more of a competitive card. At the same token, having the ability to go and just cleanse the board when the board state's kind of on a stalemate, which I've had happen plenty of times, is definitely helpful. So it's always good to have, like, so another thing, because I know there's some people that don't like having infinite combos in the deck, which sometimes you get like super degenerate. I'm of the mind that having an infinite combo of some sort in a deck is fine, if it's not the main focus, because there are definitely some Commander games I've been in that it's going on for like 3+ hours, and you just want the game to end so you go to the next one, and an infinite combo definitely helps with that. Get Wrong, definitely. Get Wrong, definitely. I have seen that deck go off crazy. Aminato as well. That's the funny thing with Aminato. I actually had to tune my deck, the Aminato deck, down because the version that I originally built, Reanimator-wise, was way too degenerate. Like, the deck could win super quick. Like, the deck can win very quickly with the old version that I had. The thing is, though, which in the right environment, that's fine. But I didn't want to do that. Like, this was my best deck. This was going to be my fun deck. Plus, it allowed me to focus more on just playing big creatures rather than like comboing out. I think the deck still has some stuff that can combo out if the game gets too long, but still. Yeah. Like cards, like having infinite combo in there just to close out a game. That's not a bad thing, so long as it's not the focus of it. Like, I don't think if it's the focus, then here or there. But what Tezzeret though? What Tezzeret? I think we have like 4, maybe 5 now. I will say the newest Tezzeret is probably my favorite, next to Age of the Bolus. Age of the Bolus is good too. Where's another card that I could put in here? Boros Charm. Let's get Boros Charm. So, like, I'm putting in one of my favorite instances in the deck, Boros Charm, because I've actually won games with this card, combined with another card in the deck, which we'll get to that. Sure. And there's tables where you can go ahead and do that. I don't think Tezzeret has one that, I don't think there's a Tezzeret commander that basically lets you be a commander. Unless you're talking about Planeswalker commanders in general. I will say one yeah, Teferi. You might be thinking Teferi. Yeah, Teferi is dumb. Teferi is dumb. That deck can get super degenerate. And I played in a fun tournament against a Teferi deck. Like, that deck can do some dumb stuff. But it was a competitive tournament, so that's to be fair. Like I said, there's a place for all commanders and all decks. It's just a matter of having the conversations first what decks people want to play. If people don't want to play competitive and they want to play more casual, that's fine. If people don't want to play casual and want to play more competitive, that's fine. If you want to be spicy, I've had games where I've actually gone up against competitive decks. Like, one person was playing a super competitive deck and we wanted to see if our decks could take it out. Not gonna lie, that deck was amazing and I was able to lock it down turn 2. And he couldn't do anything. It was great. Okay. So you have a place that does like a lot of degenerate, that plays more competitive stuff. Got it. Oh no, yeah. It's hard to find a middle ground. It's just a matter of just exploring around. So it depends. Yeah, but like I said, you can have fun with competitive decks. You just got to know what you're getting into. Like, the thing is though, if you're gonna play a game with a competitive deck and you're gonna win instantly, and you know what you're getting into, then the argument kind of goes a little bit out the window, basically saying, well, you shouldn't be playing competitive decks. like, you shouldn't have been playing in the first place. Or going against a competitive deck if that's the case, you know? But like I said, conversation. Having the conversation is important. Actually, how many cards are we into this? Yeah, and if your group is very balanced, I say stick with them because you know at the very least that you're gonna have the most fun with the style of play that you do. So nothing wrong with that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we need a little bit more removal for the deck. So we're gonna get into stuff like board wipes and things in just a little bit. I want to focus on some stuff that's going to be like some creature killing spells. Let's. Oh yeah, sure, no problem. I'll be here, just finishing up this deck. Take your time, dude. I'm not going anywhere for at least another hour or so. Okay, let's add a big old Crackle of Doom. Yeah, key thing is at least as far as the removal, want to have like at least 8 to 10 or so. But the key thing is making sure it's cards that will make their creatures die. That's the key. If because they get exiled. Excuse me. Sorry. I feel like there's gotta be like other like just general removal spells that are just targeted. I'm not thinking about. That's just not just like outright exile. Let me look through the other deck real quick. Right, just some of the cards that I just have kind of sprawled out in front of me. Oh yeah, we might definitely want that one. I was realizing cards exist. I'm like, oh right, this is the thing. I kind of want this for this deck. But I think this deck is coming along really well. Like, a lot of like the lower cost stuff is going to be just within the spells. So the creature count can be a little bit higher because of that. Just to be happy with Goldfish. What are some good removal spells? Let me pull up EDH Rec real quick. I'm going to have it on the other screen, unfortunately. I don't want to mess this up too much. So, oh damn it! Oh, that is a good card for this deck. Like, Council's Judgment would be a really good dark. Oh, wait, no, it exiles. Never mind. Exile is good up to a certain point. Like I said, we want things to die. We want things to go away, but we don't want we want things to die. Dying is important for this deck. I mean, maybe not having stuff for everything is necessarily a bad thing per se. Man, I'm in need of like getting like some more like destruction cards if that's the case. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like something's being missed here. Oh boy. Anyway, yeah, let's add a few more, and then if we need to, we can just go back and add some more. Another card that's in this deck, which is pretty decent for the cost, just Fracture. Wow, there's a lot of cards. There's a lot of cards with just Fracture in it. There you are. Wait, no, come back. There you go. So that takes about 9 spells for that type of for just targeted removal. I think that's pretty good. Let's do board wipes. And board wipes are going to be fun. This one, like, there's a couple of fun board wipes in this deck, which I'm excited to try out. God, where is it? We're going to be talking about that card in just a moment. Yeah, we'll do that one. We'll do that one. There we go. That one. And then, yeah. Okay. Hey, bud. How's everything going? Welcome in. Glad you could make it. How are you doing today? Hopefully all things are good. Sad? Oh no! I'm sorry to hear that. Is everything okay? What's going on? I shall send some positive energy over to your way with whatever's going on your way. Positive energy is good. Oh no! Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. Was this like a trip or something that you had planned for a while? Okay, yeah. That's what I was thinking have happened. Man, yeah, that's rough. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully you'll be able to go there like sometime soon. Once things kind of open up and calm down a little bit more. Fingers crossed. Aw, I'm sorry. If I could hug you right now, I'd send you some hugs. Unfortunately, I do not have the use of my arms, so I can't hug. Oh, okay, you have family over there too. Yeah, that's fair. I understand. Totally legit. Well, I hope very well that you're able to go sometime soon this year. Seems like things are getting a little bit better now, so there is the hope. So fingers crossed to you. Okay, so let's add some board wipes here. Let's do Blasphemous Act. No worries. Doing other stuff and just like hanging out with people and just doing things is always a good way to go about that. So, no, that's legit, and I appreciate you coming in to stopping in. I'm basically just building a deck for Magic the Gathering. I don't know if you've ever played it or not. So that's basically what's going on here. And appreciating the pretty artwork, because holy heck, this card's good. Nah, that's legit. I don't blame you at all. Yeah, I can imagine. It's super late for you right now too. Okay, I got you. Well, totally understand that you want to go and just take your mind off things. There's nothing wrong with that. On the same token, just make sure you get some good sleep. Sleeping is good. It will help. If you can, of course, which it doesn't seem like you can. So, that's fair. Well, you are more than welcome to stay here as long as you'd like, until you're feeling a little bit better, or you want to go to try to sleep. I would just imagine that just even if you don't feel like sleeping, trying to sleep would be better than nothing. You know. Taking it from somebody who actually doesn't sleep all that well either, so it happens. But let's go with good old Blasphemous Act here for a board wipe. What else we got? Tragic Arrogance. Another good one. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. Yeah. I know a lot of people were with that same problem. Like, I know that bad sleeping kind of runs in my family a little bit too. Like, I think my, oh God, what was it? What was the condition? What was it my grandmother had? My grandmother actually has something that she doesn't let her sleep. I think it's sleep apnea? Something like that? Insomnia. Yes, insomnia. She has insomnia. I don't know if I have it either or anything like that, but it's hard to say. Ooh. That's good. Calm music and everything always helps. Kind of keep things going. Okay, so what Tragic Arrogance do? For each player you choose from among permanents that you control, an artifact or creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker, and then each sacrifice all other non. Okay, yeah. That was not bad. That was not bad. I always love the sound of the wind blowing out. At my old place, you can hear it a lot more because it got really windy really quickly. It doesn't get really windy around here all that often, unfortunately, so not able to hear the wind as much. It's a shame. I kind of miss that a little bit. But then again, I used to live near a coast, so the wind was pretty common. But yeah, what are you gonna do? Let's add an Austere command here. Just so I have that utility to destroy stuff. Plus also the destroy all things bit. And one of my new favorites. Yeah, it costs me too. I love it. I love it. Also, there's something satisfying as far as watching the wind blow and blow stuff away. Maybe that's just me, but I like that. Alright, Promise of Loyalty. Yeah, this one is definitely a card that I want to go ahead and do. Oh, right, they get to choose the card that they want to go ahead and use. Huh. Now that I think about it, is this actually a card that I want to use in the deck? Huh. No worries, bud. No worries. Like I said, hopefully, I'm sure you'll be able to get to sleep sometime soon. So, until then, you're more than welcome to sit here and chill. Oh, that's a tough one here. Because with the way the deck works, it's good to have like some things and everybody keeps their best thing, but they won't attack you. Well, if you have it on multiple things, yeah, I'll keep it. That's fine. I think it's still worth it. Because then things won't attack you. Sure, no problem, bud. No problem. I like to try to keep my streams chill as much as possible. Unless I'm screaming at something. Which it won't be chill. But it's fun. I wish we had some other board wipes that are a little bit less. Not gonna lie. Oh, that's good. That was nice of her to do. Where's good peoples? Alright, let's get into the fun parts of the deck here. Like some of the walls and the win conditions. We have about possibly less than 20 cards we have to do. And you know what? That's good. Sometimes people need that a little bit. Having some good old motivation is good. Oh my god, I had another card in here I could use for a spell. Darn it! Darn it! Alright, we're gonna change some things around here real quick. I didn't look through my cards well enough. Oh no. No. Not at all. I don't think it's annoying. Put it this way: as somebody who has a best friend who thinks that thinks I'm way too positive, sometimes you need that positivity. Like sometimes a lot of people need that positivity, even if they say they don't, because you never know the type of day that somebody's having. So giving a kind of like a bit of a ray of sunshine of sorts is never a bad thing. So never lose that. You gotta, like I said, the world is dark. The world is dark enough on its own. It's always good to have, like I said, the world needs a little bit more positivity in it. So, never apologize for trying to be positive. Never, ever, 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 ever do that. Actually, I kind of want to get rid of tragic arrogance here, and then replace it with something else, because tragic arrogance, the fact that you be able to pick the best thing, but it gets rid of your enchantments too, I don't much like that. Fumigate, however, which worries about creatures, that's a good way to go, in my mind. You and me both. You and me both. I don't get too many hugs, but I love giving them, because, like I said, you never know the type of day that somebody's having, so you have to give you that warm and fuzzy feeling. So, there's nothing wrong with that. Let me put in my big cards here, so I don't forget to add them in later, because we definitely need a demonic tutor, and then we also need a enlightened tutor, and maybe a gamble. Maybe. Yeah, we'll put gamble here. Why not? Okay, just to make sure that I have those little tutors. Alright, so we have... how many cards we have left? So, another 10, then 0, 1, 2. Okay. So, 12 cards left? Exactly. I'm of the mind that everybody deserves a hug. Hugs are like the lifeblood. Hugs are good. Sometimes almost too good. But again, hugs are great, and I feel like more people need them. Even when they say they don't need them, they need hugs. Yeah, because ultimately, a lot of people just don't get it. Like I've seen a lot of times more girls will go hug other girls, but it's not super common that you'll see like guys hugging other guys and stuff like that, or even like girls hugging guys or guys hugging girls or anything like that. Which I think is a damn shame, because like I said, I think more people need hugs. Definitely feel about better. Like I don't care what anybody says. Everyone, doesn't matter who you are. Everybody needs more hugs. What's that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Alright, we need to take out some cards. But I have a couple cards I want to add here to the deck. I think it might be good, so let's start off. Huh. That's interesting. I never thought about it like that. Yeah, that could happen. Yeah, I mean, there are some guys that, or some people in general. It's not just necessarily exclusive to guys. There's some people in general that just are generally bad at like expressing emotion. So. Yeah, it's just something like almost like it's therapeutic in a way. Like getting hugs from people, so. Like I said, that is something that definitely needs to happen a little bit more, if you ask me. Let's get some deflecting palms in here. Like this card being a win condition here is one of my favorite things. I love this thing. Yeah, it's a shame, and it's a shame that that type of stuff still happens. Not just in school, but just other places too. It's just a different type of bullying. It is. I can see why it happens, but just no, don't do that. And you know what? That's pretty cool that you did that. That's both very brave and very kind of you. Because there's a lot of people who would want to do something like that, but would worry about what would come afterwards. Or feel like they don't have the ability to do so. So the fact that you took that extra step, despite that, to go and stand up, that's admirable. That's extremely admirable. A lot more people, there needs to be a lot more people like that. Because sometimes people don't feel like they're in the position they can do something. Let's do Comeuppance. Rakdos Charm, I believe. I don't think I put that in here yet. That's a fun card. Low costing too, which is kind of important. Yeah, we're definitely putting that card in there. What else? Authority of the Consulate. Now we're getting to the enchantments. Yeah, I mean, I will, like, as somebody who was bullied myself up to a certain point growing up, like, I get why people do it, and it's extremely unfortunate that it happens. Like I said, at the same token, I've noticed that even as you get older, like I said, the bullying, like there's certain bullying that just doesn't stop. It just happens in a different form. Because, unfortunately, in the world that we live in today, with so many, and this is kind of a trade-off to having a place in a world with so many people and so many varying ideas, not everybody's going to get along. And everybody's going to have different views as far as stuff is concerned. So, people disagreeing, not getting along and stuff is unfortunately common. I'm very much of the mind that that there is a way to come together, and even if you don't agree, you can agree to disagree and live and let live. Like, I'm always of the mind that if it doesn't hurt anybody, kind of do you, or let other people do you, or so long as it doesn't hurt anybody and it affects just you, then kind of do whatever you want to, because it's not affecting anybody else; it's just affecting the person that's doing the thing. That's sometimes also a reason why. Like, yeah, abuse and stuff like that, that is definitely a common case for that type of stuff. I've also seen cases where it's just people are jealous of stuff, so they bully. Or they don't know how to properly approach people, so they bully. They don't know how else to interact with it except in a negative light. There's multiple reasons. There's so many nuances to that. It's not even funny. And you know what? I imagine everybody kind of has a side like that too, bud. It just really depends. And sure, everybody kind of has their own breaking point depending on things, but everybody's different. But I'm very much of the mindset of, can we all just get along? I know that's not always possible, but I would prefer if just everybody just got along. There's a world, like, we have a huge world out there. I like to imagine that we'd be able to come to some sense of normalcy here. Just kind of going through some cards here real quick to add to the mix of stuff. Yep, and you know what? Sometimes it's really hard to do that. Sometimes it's very hard to do that, but again, the fact that you decided to do that is really admirable. I know that some people may not necessarily say that you should get involved in certain things, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Because like I said, sometimes there are some people out there that just need a little bit of help, and that's all you're doing, providing a little bit of help. Cool. Kind of speeding through, and then we'll kind of go through some of the cards that I'm adding here as well. Spear Safety for a little bit more defense. Okay, I'm sorry to realize that I'm having a lot of high casting cost cards here. So I'm in definite need to like reduce some stuff once we get all the spells that I want to use in here. Insurrection. Oh, I forgot that we have that here. Oh, that's kind of cool. It's a combination. The newer version of this card is actually a parody of this one. That's kind of cool. I like that. I didn't notice that. Kind of love it when Magic stuff, when they do that Magic. Ink Shield. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. And for a lot of you who haven't played Magic, I'll explain what some of these cards do as we go along. So, as a kind of a reminder, nothing wrong with Vibe. Vibe is good. Vibe is good. So, as a bit of a reminder, for those of you who haven't played Magic or anything like that, this is for the Commander format, which basically you have like one main creature or person kind of leading the deck, and the deck is based around whatever that person's ability is. For this particular deck that I'm doing right now, this deck is focused around keeping people from attacking you or off of you completely. Give them incentive to basically set the field up to give them incentive to beat each other up and not touch you at all. And then you go and steal the game right from under them. But a lot of the cards in this deck kind of help with that strategy a little bit. So basically putting up, like, perfect example, like a card like this, like Blind Obedience here, basically makes the big creatures that you would normally come in and attack with come into play where they're unavailable to use any abilities or coming into play to attack you. So it leaves people open for them to get attacked, and again, keep them off of you because they're not going to touch you. Let's do Electro Dominance. But the deck does have ways to win. Like, it's just more focused on keeping you in the game as long as possible. And then kind of neutering things if things get too out of control. Like, this card, for example, here, is one of the win conditions of the deck, or at least it can completely lock somebody down that causing too much trouble for people. Where basically it turns all their big creatures and creatures and things into little tiny babies, which has no abilities. They can't do anything, so they're kind of stuck until this goes away. And this can lock out a game really quick, especially when you get to like the very end of it and you're up. It's like one-on-one. This deck is mainly for multiple people at once. Okay, so I think I have all the cards that I want to add in the deck. There's a couple more, but I don't know. Yes, Bud. This is Magic the Gathering. This is a card game. I play the physical cards, but there also is an online version as well if you so choose to do it. So, very fun game. Very fun game. I've been playing this game for 10 plus years now, maybe longer, somewhere around there. But the type of deck, there's many ways you can play the game. The version I'm playing is a lot less competitive. It's more casual, a lot more fun. The format's called, the style of play that I'm doing is called Commander, which basically allows you to use one, like I said, it's very casual. You use a lot more cards than you do in a traditional deck. And you can use cards from just about anywhere, bar a couple of them, because they're too strong. Plus, it's cheaper because you only have to get one copy of a card rather than multiple copies of a certain card, especially when they get super expensive. But then also, you have the ability to express yourself. Because you can take a character that you really like and build a deck around them, and it doesn't have to be necessarily good. You can just use cards and stuff that you like, so long as they're within the colors of that card that you pick or that person you use. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, and there's a lot of customization. Plus, you don't need like the best cards or anything like that to actually play and get a lot of mileage and have fun. There are some players that like to play like super competitively, and there are some decks out there that can win like in the first two turns. But ultimately, I like to play more just longer games, just to have fun and just do some crazy stuff. This deck is one of those examples of it. Which actually, I think we're in the realm. I think we're good, at the very least, to start cutting some cards and maybe adding some in here. Because here's the thing: a lot of the cards that I put in here had a high cost, which they're not necessarily a bad thing. I just prefer, like, I feel more comfortable having stuff that costs less, so that way there isn't too many problems in the long run. Oh, also, now that I think about it, there's a couple of cards I didn't even add in here. Yeah, let me go through my list here real quick. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? I forgot, like, one of my favorite cards. No! Where are you? I must find you. I must find you. Ah, darn it. Okay, where's Curse? I know what the name of the card is. Curse of Opulence. Curse of... There we go. So yeah, like I said before, like, this deck is based around just getting people not to attack you. Like, perfect example is this card. This card is very cheap. It comes into play. You put this on to another player, and basically, anytime that player that gets... It's essentially a curse. So anytime this person who's cursed with this card gets attacked, the person in question, the person who's attacking them, gets a resource, which is called mana in this game, that kind of sits around. You can kind of use it to pay for stuff or other spells, and you as the player also gets a mana. But this particular one's called a treasure. So, like, stuff like that. So you get benefits off of other people doing stuff that's not attacking you. Okay, let's take out some cards here. Because I think we have one. We want to try to have at the very least around 63-ish, 62, 63, before we actually start putting into your lands. With the lands is where you get most of your resources from. What do we want to add here? There's certain cards here that I'm just not going to take out because I absolutely love the cards. Let me pull up. So you know what? There is actually a card that there's a few cards that I might end up taking out, mainly because I don't have nearly as much of a card type here that I thought I was going to. So I think it actually might be more beneficial if I just take out the cards and just replace it with something else. Yeah, that actually might be a good idea. Let's do. Alright, so this card here I added in because one of the main card types, at least for some of your win conditions, are enchantments. Which enchantments are basically cards that kind of sit on the field. They normally target either a creature on the field or a player, and they have an effect that just kind of sticks around so long as that player is there, or they just have like a passive effect that just kind of happens while it's on the field. And while this deck does have quite a bit of enchantments, I think it has about 9 or so. You have this here, then you have a creature here that acts as an enchantment too, this guy here. So there's only 9 of them, which if I was playing more, I think this card would get a lot more viability out of it, but I don't think that's going to be the case here, so I think we could get rid of him. So he can go away. Another card we could probably get rid of from the artifact side of things is Sunforger here, because Sunforger's ability, it lets you play spells from your deck, but thinking about it now, it actually has a relatively high cost, and I don't think I have enough spells in here to justify it. Because the amount of spells that you can use that uses this card and lets you play stuff from your deck is one, because it looks like instant buff, which can happen like right away, rather than just like on your turn. So you have 1, 2. Well, this one doesn't work because it's, well, no, that's 4 or less. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think it's 11, 12. Okay, wait, there's about 12 cards here. Well, okay, we'll think about that one, because that one's a bit on the iffy side. Because I think there's actually enough like spells in the deck to where that actually might be worth it. What else? Okay, I think I see another card. So this card here, Open the Vaults, it's a card that you can only play during your turn unless certain conditions are met. Where basically it gets enchantments, which I said, or just things that kind of sit on the field and do stuff like these guys here. Or artifacts, which are one of my personal favorite cards, which are these guys here. Artifacts are typically very versatile. They're stuff that stays on the field. They give you resources, they can be creatures, they can do a lot of stuff. And they're typically they don't have a color associated with them, so you put them in any deck. So they're extremely versatile. The only thing is, in total there's about 20 of them. Well, okay, there's 20 of them, which is about a fifth of your deck. Okay, that's actually worth it. Yeah, this is where things get really tough as far as like what you want to keep in the deck and what you want to take out. Because the big thing is, like, everything in the deck here is like a lot of the cards here work with what I'm trying to do. The problem is that a lot of them just cost a lot of resources. And while your playstyle is basically just kind of sit and just do nothing, so the big mana costs are not really going to matter too much, I can see where you might run into some issues. Okay, I think I see a couple cards that we can kind of take out here. So, one of them is actually one of my favorite cards in Magic because of just how much it costs. Hold on here. Teysa, here. Teysa can actually be the leader of her own deck here because she's a legendary creature, as it says here. But she costs 7 to play. So traditionally, you can get 1 resource or 1 land per turn. So you typically won't be able to play her until turn 7, unless you get like artifacts that give you resources or mana, as it's called. And while her effects is good and keeps people off of you, I feel as though there's enough cards in the deck that either keep people off from attacking you, or will keep them away. Just in general, so I think we can kick her out, which is unfortunate because I love her character. She's actually part of this guild that's basically the equivalent of a mafia. Like they're known as the Orzhov Syndicate, where basically they have a front as a church, but in the background they actually run they have a whole racket where they deal with laundering. Well, not laundering per se, but they deal with loans. They're loan sharks. So basically, they'll lend you out money, but you have to pay it back in interest. And if you don't pay stuff back in interest, not only will they basically collect stuff, if you owe them, even if you die, they actually have ability in resurrection magic. So they'll bring you back from the dead and have your ghost, your spirit, work on their behalf to pay off their debt. So even in death, the Orzhov will make you pay, no matter what. But the funny thing is, they're not inherently evil, per se. Even though they do some shady stuff, they're not inherently evil. Because they actually do love the world that they're from. And that's another thing with Magic. All the creatures and all like the cards here are from different worlds, or depict different worlds. So you get a lot of variety depending on what your cup of tea is for fantasy. But yeah, Teysa herself is actually one of the high-ranking members of the Orzhov Syndicate. She's actually been alive for 100 years. She uses a cane because of the fact that she's alive for so long. One of her legs stopped working, so she has to use a cane to get around it. But she's extremely powerful. She's very much of a debater, so she's very good with just word of mouth, talking, convincing people. But she also is good at magic as well, and she can summon a giant dragon, which I hope we get a chance to see that at some point in time. But yeah, I actually have a whole deck built around one of the versions of her, so we can take her out. Another card that we can take out right away is the Author of Shadows. Now this is a good card, because when it comes to play, it basically gets rid of everything that's in people's graveyards, which is basically what happens to a spell after you use it, or when a creature dies, it goes to the graveyard. But nowadays, there's a lot of cards and creatures and even commanders or leaders of the decks that basically work off of you having stuff in your graveyard. So the graveyard almost acts like a second hand or a second set of resources. So having cards that get rid of stuff in the graveyard is great. There's nothing ever bad wrong with that. What this one does is when it comes to play, it exiles and gets rid of everything that's in all your opponent's graveyards, but then you get to pick a spell from the graveyard and be able to use it. So basically you get to steal a spell from somebody. It's a good card. It would fit fine with this deck. The problem is, though, this deck, it costs like 5. It costs 5. No worries, bud. No worries. I figured that everybody, there seems to be quite a number of people here, which nobody's ever obligated to talk. If you want to chill, just listen to me in the background while you're doing other stuff, that's totally fine. You're more than welcome to do that if you so choose. I just appreciate you for being here. I appreciate your face. I'm going to poke it. But yeah, I try to make you things as chill as possible. So yeah, nothing wrong with that, bud. But yeah, we're getting rid of Author of Shadows because of that. Like I said, we want to try to keep the cost for things relatively low. What else? What else? Man, this is gonna suck because I'm not gonna have many creatures in this deck, which is not necessarily a bad thing per se. But at the same time, I feel like not having enough creatures in the deck might be more of a problem. I mean, I think that there's versions of this deck I've had done before in the past. I've actually had about, like, I think maybe 16 creatures was the most that I've had in this deck. So getting rid of a couple here and there is not necessarily a bad thing. And we're at 15, so it's not bad. Okay, I think all the other ones are decent. I think the only one that might be a little bit iffy is probably Monk Idealist, because it comes into play and gets you an enchantment back, but there's only like 9 enchantments. So typically, this, if you had like maybe triple it out, about like 30 enchantments in your deck, okay, this card is amazing. But that's debatable. If we need to get rid of cards, that might be one we get rid of. So let's see if there's anything else. So for the creature side of things, I think we're fine, because we have a good variety of creatures that either incentivizes people to attack. You can make deals. That's another thing with this deck. This deck actually is very good at like making deals with other people around the table, so you have to kind of be good at word of mouth to play it. Because essentially you could do stuff like, hey, I'll go ahead and do this thing that'll save your creature. Like, example, this card right here is a perfect example of that. So this one is an enchantment, but it can also become a creature once you reach certain conditions. But basically, at the end of your turn, you get to put what's called a coin counter, which is just a special counter for this card. But basically, you put a coin counter on a creature, and then when that creature dies, it comes back into play. So basically, if somebody tries to get rid of a creature that you don't want them to get rid of, putting a coin counter on it while this card's in play, they'll get the creature back. So you can make deals with people like, hey, there's something coming. I'll save your creature if you'll do something for me. And then you can kind of get the politics going on from there. Or you can also use it on your own creatures, to where if somebody does like a board wipe, or like wipes all the creatures and gets rid of all the creatures in play, you can actually get the ball back and you won't get affected by anything that happens there. So it acts as a form of protection for yourself and then other people. Plus, this particular card has an ability called Indestructible, which means effects that would normally like destroy something won't work on it. And if it can become a creature, so this can actually like act as like a blocker if somebody comes in to attack you, because no matter what they use, unless it's like very specific cards, this won't go away. This will always be here, which is nice. So you have stuff that you can make deals with people. Stuff like the cards like this one, which basically whenever somebody's attacking somebody that's not you, they get a little creature that comes in attacking the person that they're attacking. So they basically get to do more damage. But then those creatures can't attack, those special creatures, which are called Inklings, can't attack you. So stuff like that. So you get a lot of stuff like that in the deck. Let me see if there's anything else we can add. I'll have to look at like a chart to see like how much of each mana cost is where, because it does allow you to. Let me see if this allows you to. No, it doesn't do that. It just gives a count. Never mind. I thought. Oh, we have the stats here. So stat wise. Okay. So this kind of gives this little chart here kind of gives you a kind of a breakdown of stat. Now we're getting real technical, so I'm sorry. So basically, this kind of gives you a stat of like how much certain cards cost, as far as how much resources you have to use for them. So traditionally, for a decent deck, you want to have like a balance between all these. You don't want to have too many of them that are like in the 7 or 8 range or cost 7 or 8 resources here. Which for certain decks, that you actually want those. And there's ways around that you can still play and be fine. You just have to make sure that your resource list, which are lands, are actually good. You have to be careful with that. But with this one, it seems like there's more cards that are in the 3 to 4 range, which isn't terrible. So this is like what? So it's like most of the cards here are like in the 3 or 4 range, which isn't bad. Like I said before, the deck's essentially based around you keeping your opponents off of you. So you're essentially just kind of playing the waiting game. So because the game's going to go on long and you're not going to be really affected by it, unless somebody has like a really fast deck, but there are very fast decks, you'll never have to really worry about it. So I think it's a good trade-off. Plus the mana cost for it is about 3-ish or so. So yeah, I think we're good. So now we get to do the fun part, which is add lands. And like I said, lands are your resources. So, also, one thing that I love about Magic is the artwork on a lot of these cards. Like, look at this. This card, like the artwork on this is very good. And the artists just do phenomenal work as far as what they do the art for a lot of these cards, whether it be the spells, the creatures, anything like that too. But we start off. So some of these lands that we're going to be putting into the deck are very much ones that are pretty traditional. Like most people who play decks or commander decks will have them in there, like Command Tower. This one basically gets you a resource or a mana of color that equals to your commander's color identity. So basically, the color identity is basically these little symbols here. So you have 5. You have white, black, blue, or if you go in the tradition of Wooburg, as it's called, white, blue, black, green, white, blue, black, red, green. So, and basically when you're making a deck like this, you basically only use cards, unless they're colorless like the artifacts are, that either have white, black, or white, or red, white, and black in it, in this particular case. So you also, that goes the same thing for your resources. Command Tower is nice because you get a mana based off of the color of your identity. So in this case, whenever I use this land, I can get white, black, or red mana. So it's always going to be useful, which is why it's used in most decks. So from there, then we'll use stuff like City of Brass, which is, and if anybody has any questions as far as stuff is concerned, especially if you've never played, let me know. I'm more than happy to answer them. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of rambling as we're going on here. So City of Brass does something similar to that as well. But you take damage, which in this deck you actually get cards whenever stuff dies, and you get life, which is your resource for staying in the game. So you don't care if you lose life. Mana Confluence is another card that does the exact same thing. You take 1 damage, but you get a resource of any color that you might need. What else? I'm missing something here. No, those are typically the 2 cards at least I do. Ouroborg, which is a card I normally use in a deck. or a land I normally use in the deck, which just gives you... This guy here is a land. It basically turns all your other lands into black lands, or swamps as they're known as. And then let's go into the fetch lands now. Which fetch lands do I have available? I think it was the... just pulling out some stuff here. Oh! I might... Thank you, me, for thinking ahead and actually getting this other pile for the land situated. Because this part will be really easy to do. So let's go ahead and add in the ones I know that I'm putting in. So Temple of Silence. So basically, the next 3 lands I'm going to put in, basically when they come into play, you can't use them right away, but as a trade-off, you get to look at the top card of your deck, so you get this, and you decide if you want to keep it on top or not. And they're in just different colors. That's the one thing with this. It's like I said, Magic is very much a resource intensive game, so you want to make sure that you use your resources wisely to be able to make the best choices and be able to make the most amount of plays. So Temple of Malice will get you some stuff here. So same thing, but you get to make a black or red source of mana. And then Temple of Triumph, which is the same thing as this one, but again, different colors. A lot of these cards you'll see that are repetitive, but they just work for different colors here. So this is always nice because then you can kind of plan ahead as you're playing the game, because if there's a specific card or a type of card that you're looking for, you can look at the top card of your deck. If that's the card you want, you can keep it on top. If it's not the card you want to, you can just put it to the bottom of your deck, and then hopefully have a better chance of getting the card that you want. Nomad's Outpost, which is a similar land to this one. Outpost. This one comes into play unusable at first, but then you get all sources of mana. That's of our commander here. And then we get to do what is it? Rugged Prairie. Yeah, so right now, like I said, this is kind of the easy part here, because I traditionally have a certain amount of cards that I normally always put into my decks. So I normally have an idea as far as like what cards we're going in where. So this part is there's at least for me, there's really no like decision process for stuff. I think I'm missing a card here. Okay, let's get these out of the way here next too. All right. Let's do Pajuka Bog. This next land is going to be good for like the whole idea of graveyard. So when this comes to play, you pick a player and you pick an opponent or a player, and then the graveyard's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Anything that's in it is gone. So any decks that focus around the graveyard just gets kind of they cry, which I know because I love decks that use the graveyard. They're my favorite type of decks. I cry every time when that happens, but it's always good to do the same to other people. So Sacred Foundry, which is getting to one of my favorite cards. Again, more resources and stuff. It's just a lot of these lands come in with certain conditions to use them. So it's just it's just the idea of having the right kind or the right amount. So that way when you're playing, you're always going to have the amount of resources that you need to actually play, which, to be fair, there are going to be some cases where that's not going to always happen, and you're going to have some cases where you're not going to always have everything that you want resource-wise, so you might get screwed out a little bit there, but probability. The better the lands that you have, or the ones that come into play untapped, which is basically usable right away, the better off you'll be. Which all of them, for the most part, are all but 10, or the basic, or what they call basic lands, all have some kind of caveat to them. So they normally have some kind of resource cost that you need. Either you can't use them right away, or you have to pay life. Like this one. Like, you can have it come into play usable or untapped, but you have to pay 2 life to really use it. Which, in a game where you're playing with 40 life before you die, that's fine. But there are some cases where that actually becomes a problem. So, and then my 2 favorite of these type of lands, which is Godless Shrine, because I love black-white as a card type. Look at this. Black-white always has like some of the best looking artwork here. You know what? Hold on. Let me see if do you have like the really cool design for this one? We're gonna hit save here before I forget. Oh no, I don't know. I don't know if we could get the one with like the really cool design to it. I don't know if this does it, but I'm not gonna waste too much time with that. There's one. I have one that is full. It's all full art on the card. It's this exact one for Godless Shrine. It looks amazing. Like, it's one I got for my birthday, or for a birthday present for myself for my favorite deck. But it's I love that card so much. Let's see here. One moment. I'm getting pinged for some reason. Why am I getting pinged? Hello, person. I'm streaming right now. Okay, we're good. And then Isolated Chapel. Also, like for this Godless Shrine and Isolated Chapel, especially just the artwork, I use they've reprinted these cards multiple times, but there is a artwork from one of my favorite sets, and it has a special place in my heart because the set was one of the first ones I played when I started playing the game. So, and it was in one of my favorite decks that I played when back when I was playing like quote unquote competitive Magic. All right, so we have a decent amount of lands in here. What else do we need? Okay, so we need 20 more lands. Okay, so we're doing pretty good here. So we just need to fill up until we hit 90. We hit 100 here. So now this is a bit of the easy part here. So what we can do is let me add in what we call in the community fetch lands. Oh, I forget the ones I have available for this deck. Oh, please. Basically, these fetch lands are very popular, especially in more of the competitive format, so they're kind of expensive, depending on the ones. They're actually getting reprinted in one of the new sets coming out now, so, which I'm super excited for. I will definitely try to get a copy of them. But there are specific ones that I'm going to be using. I'm only going to be using 2 for this deck because I only have 4. I believe Polluted Delta was one? Yeah, Polluted Delta is one. This is actually the full art version that I was talking to you about. It kind of looks like this. The Godless Shrine that I have. This one is just a full art version of this particular card, but... and what was the other one? God, I forget the names of these cards sometimes. There's too many! Okay, one... Oh, what is the... This is going to drive me insane. Hold on. No, it's not Bloodstained Mire. It's not Polluted Delta. What was the name of the card? Was it Wooded Foothill? You know what? That's fine. We'll just use Wooded Foothill. That is okay. But what makes these cards so special is the fact that they allow you to search for a card type of any of the main 5. So Mountain, Forest, Plains, Swamp, or Island. one for each of the corresponding colors. But there are also colors like, say, like, or cards like lands like Godless Shrine, which is also treated like a, for example, just to kind of, let's go back to Godless Shrine because I love that card. So Godless Shrine is a plain swamp. So the one that we have, which is Polluted Delta, will actually get an island or a swamp. So you can use this card to get Godless Shrine into play. And it instantly just gives you more access to more colors. So that's why they're super popular, especially competitive, because they're the best land that we currently have available that give you access to your resources quicker or more consistently. The downside is, again, they're a little bit expensive, especially the ones that are used in more competitive formats. The ones that they've reprinted, not so much, which is nice. Here, let's do the easy part. So for me, when I'm using decks with 3 colors in it, I traditionally just like to go and do with the basic lands, which are these guys. So in this case, Swamp for black mana. I just do an even 5 for all of them, or 10 if it's like less colors. And then we'll just need to add a few more lands in, and then we should be done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then mountains. There we. Okay, that's interesting. 1, 2. Oh, no. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that puts our card count at about 97. So we just need about 3 more lands, and we'll be good to go. Or sorry, yeah, 3 more lands. We'll need 3 more lands, and we'll be good to go. So now we can just do. Let's add some ones that will just give us some added benefits, like Reliquary Tower here, which the way the ability works for this one is basically you do have a maximum hand size, so you can only have 7 cards in your hand at a time anymore, and then at the end of your turn you have to throw some cards in the graveyard. This makes it to where that doesn't apply, so super useful. Then we can do another card like, say, I thought I saw it here. I'm just trying to grab it real quick. Was it Tectonic Edge? Yeah, Tectonic Edge. This one allows you to just destroy a land that might be causing the problem, because there are some lands that can produce or create a huge amount of resources for a player. So having something that kind of stops that from happening is really good. So we'll put one of these in. And then for the last card for the deck, we're about 36 cards, or 36 lands, which is a decent amount, but I want to have an extra one. Let's do something with a little bit more fixing. There's a very specific card. I forget, the name escapes me. Because of course it escapes me. I think it's, yeah, white, black. And also, it's and also, no surprise, it's also a deck that has black white in it, which is hilarious. No, where is the? I'm looking at the wrong place. What's over here? It's not there. Why can't I remember what that card is? Huh. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, site, apparently. Oh, wait, no, there's more lands. Where is... There it goes. That's what it's called. Fetid Heath. Why can't I remember the name for that? Alright, so another black-white land. This one's interesting because what you do is it create mana that's just generic, so you can use it for whatever that's generic, so like artifacts and stuff. But then it also has this ability, which is really good for fixing, where basically you can either take a white mana resource or a black mana resource and get either two. You're netting 1 mana doing it, but you either get 2 white, a white and a black, or 2 black, depending on what you need at the time. So super useful in that regard. Now, and that's it. We're done. Ta-da! The deck is finished. And I think we have everything that we want in here for the time being. What I might end up doing is going back and making changes to some of the lands, because as time goes on, the basic lands, the ones that just do it for 1 mana type, I do tend to go replace them once I get access to other cards that can produce mana of different colors. So I might end up taking out a few of these like mountains and plains and stuff like that, depending. Because I know there's like some basic cards out there that does do mana of different colors. And they're kind of similar to how like, you know, Godless Shrine is, where it's like, or Blood Crypt in this game, where it's a Swamp Mountain. There are some lands out there that are treated like a Swamp Mountain, and which will be really good for search for other cards that are in this deck. So, always good to have as many different variety of lands as humanly possible. So, wow, we've been streaming over 3 hours. My goodness. And hello, everybody who's there. I'm so sorry. I was lost in thought doing this deck and explaining some things. Let's see if we can test it out a little bit to see what happens here. Now, this deck is a little bit harder to kind of play test in the mix of things, because of the fact that this deck is more reliant on what your other players are doing. Hello? What the heck happened to my music? Oh! Ha! That's funny. So it's going to the other soundtrack that I have here. I didn't realize we were going over time. Whoopsie. The other one that I have is actually house music. So it's a lot techno and stuff like that. The problem is that particular one that's on this list, which I don't know why it's on this list. Let me get rid of that real quick. Okay. The problem I have with that is the fact that it has ads that happen like after every song. This one doesn't. So, but to do a little play testing here real quick. So, hand to 7. This is not a bad hand. I probably need some white sources here if I'm going to actually do anything, but we'll see what happens. So it will be my turn. Let's double click this. Oh, I got a card. I got an artifact, which gives me color based off of my commander. So we're good. So basically, we would do something like, say, play a swamp, and then pass the turn because we can't really play anything. Then next turn, draw a card. Okay, so card here. Play a red, and then we would tap these to get sources, and then play the signet here, which gives you any color that you need. So now we're up by 3 mana resources here. Then next turn. So this is the part where things would get a little tricky. So this is turn 3 of the game. Yeah, about turn 3. Yeah, turn 3 of the game. And then, so now we can play our commander because it costs 3, which was what we want to do. We want to do that as quickly as humanly possible. Oh, we even have a look at the top card ability too here. So basically, we can play this temple, which it comes into play tapped, but we can see what the top card of our deck here, and it's an Enlightened Tutor. This lets us get an artifact or an enchantment. So that's actually a really good card. So we'll keep that on top. But then we'll use our resources here. Play our commander. And then we end the turn. If the opponent has some creatures into play, they'll get what's called a bounty counter. And the way that this guy works is, anytime you end your turn, you get a bounty counter, and you put it on a creature that opponent controls. And when that creature dies, everybody but that opponent who owned that creature gets some life and gets to draw a card. So it incentivizes other people attacking you or attacking or going after other people, because they're going to get some benefit out of it. And then if you really want to go and basically put some incentive, like, hey, you should probably kill this thing, you can put multiple counters on people and they stack. So basically 2, and basically everybody gets 4 life and 2 cards, 3, 6 life and 3 cards, and it kind of sweetens the deal later on down the line. So then next turn, we draw the Enlightened Tutor. And then at this point in time, we're literally just sitting back and just seeing what everybody else does. Because then, if there's a graveyard deck, we can play this Bazooka Ball to get rid of the graveyard, but it gives you some mana. We can actually probably use this time to get more mana here, because there's really not much of anything else to play. So we'll do that. We'll play another Signet, which is another mana source. So we're going to have a lot of mana going into the next turn here. So then you would pass. Then something that I would personally do here would be play the Tutor, because it's a spell that you can play at pretty much any time. Go through your deck. I think you can go through your deck here. Yeah, we can search your deck for whatever card you want. And then at this point, I'd probably go with like an enchantment or something like that will prevent people from attacking me. Like, perfect example, Ghostly Prison here would be a perfect example of that. So we'll put that into we'll put this on the top of your deck. And then if you look at the top, it should be on the top. Yep. And then we'll just put it into play here for a quick shuffle. Let's not look at my deck anymore. Can we not look at my deck anymore? Can we not do that? Can we stop? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. And this will go to the top. And then during my next turn, we have about, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana here to work with. So we can essentially do some stuff like play Ghostly Prison here, which basically now everybody who tries to attack you has to pay 2 mana to be able to have them attack you. So it's really good for protection. And then essentially you can just kind of sit here and just wait to see what other people do. Then next turn, you do stuff like play Spear of Safety, which is a really big card for that type of stuff. Which basically, it's the same thing as Ghostly Prison here, but instead of 2, it basically stacks up based on the amount of enchantments you have in play. So right now, to have somebody attack me, it's going to cost them 4 mana per creature. So unless they really want to come after me, they're not going to do it. So at this point in time, we're in a really good position to just kind of play the game and just see what other people do. And then as time goes on, we'll just play more lands, just sit back and do nothing. If our enchantments get destroyed, this is the card that'll get them back. Another card that makes it to where when stuff comes into play, it comes into play to where creatures they can't use or attack with it right away. So you can play stuff like that to slow down the game a little bit more. And essentially, you're just kind of going through the motions here until, as people are like getting rid of stuff and you're putting counters on stuff, you'll get to a point where when a lot of people have like a lot of creatures and things on the field where they can start attacking each other, you can use a card like this one, which is called Disrupt Decorum, which basically forces all your opponent's creatures to attack each other and not you, and then somebody might die. So you're not attacking or doing anything at this point whatsoever. You're just letting everything die. It's like I said, people are just killing each other at this point. So you can play a card like this, which is awesome. And then that's kind of how the deck works. So like I said, you put up stuff that gives you protection. You use a Mathas here to basically get counters that will get people resources when they destroy other people's stuff that's not yours. And then you just reap the benefits and just wait to see something blow up and then take advantage of that and at the right time, kill everybody. And that's how the deck plays. Now this one, I'm actually surprised with how the draws worked here, but this is a good example that the deck was built pretty decently. So, plus I'm kind of playing it more softly. Like again, it depends on what people are playing. So I should probably have drawn way more cards way sooner depending on what other people's decks are playing, or what other decks people are playing. So, yeah, that's basically how the deck works. And I'm hoping at some point in time I will be able to play this deck myself. Maybe on a game with people in the Discord, in the Discord that I'm in right now, or maybe on stream. I don't know. I need to really get that set up at some point in time. But hey, you know what? We'll see. Now that it's been about 3 hours and 15 minutes, and it's about a little after 9 o'clock my way, I've been streaming since 6. I think we're gonna go call the stream. Plus, I gotta rest my voice because I've done way more talking than I was expecting to. I apologize if I was rambling all that much, but I'm extremely passionate about Magic. Even though I don't get to play as often as I like, the game is a lot of fun and I really enjoy playing it. But for all of you who are out there, even if you didn't want to talk, which is totally fine again, thank you so much for coming to the stream. This is a nice try. I think next stream I do want to definitely do one of these type of streams again, but at a later date. But I want to actually get back to playing some games, because there's some stuff that's coming down the pipeline that I'm super excited to go and play for you guys, or share with you guys. Some collabs, some new games that I haven't played on the channel before, all that good stuff. But for closing stuff, let's go ahead and get some links here. So, for those of you who are new here, I do have a YouTube channel and a Twitter that I frequent, and I normally post VODs on. I typically go and post VODs for the stream. So if anybody happened to miss anything, you can go ahead and reference that. But I do also have a YouTube channel, Twitter, which is probably the best way you can get to me. On top of that, I do have a running gacha series called Gacha Hell that I do upload on the regular whenever I do rolls for games. I do play FGO and I do play Genshin, so those are the two games I roll on. So if that's your type of fancy, go ahead and give the channel a look, a follow, and all that stuff. Now, in the meantime, let's go ahead and see who we can raid, because I have not been paying attention about any of that stuff. Let's see here. Oh, goodness. What's going on? What do I got going on here? Come on. Interesting. I don't have many people streaming here right now. That's unfortunate. I figured there'd be more people than I knew that were streaming. Okay, I guess we're not gonna do that then. That's unfortunate. Man, I'm sad. But that's okay. That's okay. But thank you guys again so much for hanging out, sticking around, and even listening to me ramble about Magic, because I love this goddamn game. Probably way too much. And yeah, I will be streaming on Saturday. We're going to be playing some more Final Fantasy XIV. A new patch came out on Tuesday, but I actually didn't want to necessarily play it today because I wanted to do something a little bit more chill. But Saturday we will be doing some of the new stuff that happened, depending on how far I get in the next couple of days. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, until then, guys, take care. Thank you so much for being here. Have a good rest of the night or day, wherever you are. And I will see you guys on Saturday.